Hey Frank.
Hey dude.
What's up, people? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Another early, I think this is actually earlier than yesterday even, non-fun stream. 4 p.m. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Wild. Insanity. Alright. Oops. Hold on. Pick 5 first. Hand-woven rugs. Probably hand-woven, though. Not Stop the Steal Con. How's it going? What's up, Isaac? You listen, maybe. Well, they struck down the weaponization fund, so can't LARP as a Stop the Steal J6er anymore because of it. You know, I won't get the payout. Why shouldn't we have prison choice? Competing private prisons, each prisoner gets a voucher. Our current system is akin to the NHS. I mean, the opposition to private prisons I've heard is usually not among those lines. I don't actually really know if private prisons are that big a deal in principle or anything. The opposition to private prisons that I've heard is just that the way they're implemented in the US, the incentives are not very good because I think oftentimes they're paid like per prisoner and the prisoner doesn't have a voucher or anything. It's just the state is like contracting it out and they don't have incentives to they have like incentives to keep them there longer supposedly, and they don't have incentives to treat them well at all. I'm not down to let prisoners choose. I feel like I would let prisoners choose which prison they go. I mean, within reason. Like, you probably shouldn't, you know, they're probably should not have a choice of any prison in the country, but with vouchers you can align the incentives with, yeah, which is why, like, I think a voucher system would be, I mean, probably fine. I'm gonna guess China, but I don't know if China has hand woven shit. They got some. Number 3. Gonna guess Bangladesh. God damn. Fuck. I don't know, like Vietnam maybe? It could be like Haiti. Damn. I'm gonna guess Haiti. They got hands there. Oh, fuck me, dude. 0-0. Apparently they don't have hands in Haiti there. There are 0 hands in Haiti. I don't think I've ever seen that before. If it's a choices in like the state, I think they're allowed to ask that now. But they might be able to request. And I think, I think, you know, you can get deals to be in a nicer prison because they have, you know, tiers of whatever. There might be, I don't know how formal it is or whatever, but tiers of security. And I think you can request, or as like a plea deal, get lower security, more chill prisons. Maybe for like a guy, low level crimes, but if a guy does some fuck shit, I don't think he should get his pick of the litter of prisons. Well, I mean, under a voucher system, supposedly, you would probably still limit it by tier. So if you were like convicted, like a fucking serial killer, probably still, you know, gonna have to be a max security prison. And I don't even think there are that many of those. You know, we have one here, Isaac. In North Carolina, there's like, I don't know what it is, but there's like some federal prison. Like the Unabomber was there before he killed himself. I'm pretty sure he killed himself in the prison here. Bet 24-hour stream there. Oh no, let's do a long stream in a prison. Yeah, 24-hour Durham Federal Penitentiary challenge. But there was like, I remember the Unabomber being there, but there was some other like famous people because it's where they do like medical treatment for people a lot of times. So like the Unabomber, I think, was there because he had like prostate cancer or some shit. God, it could be fucking, I'm gonna guess Italy. Fuck me. India. Oh, I had India typed in. Oh, Turkey. I should have guessed Turkey. And Egypt. I should have guessed Egypt. I would not have guessed Belgium. We make one of those 2018 Ouija board videos. Yeah, 3 a.m. in the Unabomber's old cell. The key addition of letting prisoners choose is to... I just hurt my fucking neck. My neck is gonna kirk itself. I don't know what I did. Is to make sure the prisons are incentivized to reduce both recidivism and let people out early when appropriate. I think the way to do that is to make them liable in some capacity for the crimes committed by former inmates. Yeah. And what? Oh no, Maya Higa. Oh, I saw. You think I didn't see this? You think I didn't see this already? You think of how gooner my Twitter page is. I would have never seen this. Whales are evil though. You know, they eat all the shrimp. You send a hand-drawn fucking picture. And use some sort of bonus formula that incentivizes them to reduce the time in prison below a base sentence above a minimum sentence. Sure. That's just not... The like opposition to private prisons I've heard is not typically... Actually, I don't want to say typically in principle against the idea of private prisons, because I think a lot of the rhetoric I hear of private prisons is people that are kind of doing like a meme where it's like, companies shouldn't be able to profit off of this blah, 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 horrible exploitation of people. And the prison labor as well. I know people don't like, I don't know if that's actually more common in private prisons than state prisons, but non-fillet frozen fish, and it's only that, and it's 192 million. What's up, Copeland K? You're welcome for sending up the great debate between dispel and sample text. Yeah, I guess. Thanks for that. It was fun. Oh, fuck this. I don't know. It's one of the Pacific Island things, but I'm not gonna Look at the country. Where Samoa is to the west of the Marshall Islands, right? Or no? Because isn't the international date line between them? So it's got to be to the east. Where are the Marshall Islands? Fuck. To be honest, I knew Dispel was a troll, but I didn't know he'd go full troll. I mean, I remember like looking at his stuff a bit, because like I said, when I went on the Gondam and Gilmore thing, I saw him in the server afterwards saying whatever dumb shit, and I like just looked at his stuff, and it is all very much. I don't even want to call it slop, but we know we're nowhere. Y'all watch the conversation. Fucking Christmas Island, that's my guess. Are any of the like atolls fucking, how do you even spell that? A country, isn't there a fucking thing? Private prisoners would almost say, oh, what's up?
What is up? What is up? Oh, the World Cup tomorrow, man. Oh my god. I hope Argentina wins, dude. I love
For their
Messi.
bandwagon. Like I said, I'll be Team Argentina.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You better. You better. Wait, okay. Do you know who Saul Kripke is?
I feel like I've heard the last name, but no.
No, he was a philosopher. He died this year, I think, or maybe like a couple years ago, I think. Either way, I don't know. He's the guy who created. Well, he contributed a lot to philosophy. I'll just say.
Mhm.
Either way, I don't know. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. If you don't know, you don't know. If you're not in the know, you don't know. But yeah. I'm thinking of reading the IQ book people recommended yesterday, so that's a good one. But I've been watching the Dispel debate, and gosh, what a waste of time! What a waste of time! Did you ever doubt me? Did you ever doubt me?
No,
No,
not
you
really.
never did.
I
know
mean,
you.
part of it
No,
was
that's right.
I never had high expectations in him because I kind
Yeah,
of knew
well,
that
what's the show you were talking about that you went on and he should talk to you or something?
it was. I mean, it's just some. I don't think you know them or anything. Gondam and Gilmore. It was just like a podcast they did a while ago. I talked to some dude about Gen Z and capitalism and stuff. I can send the video. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, either way, whatever. Sam is asking me, he found like a reading list for progressives about taxation. Now,
Mhm.
it just seems read by AI. You know how you'll like ask AI to do something? So for one, it seems like it's Claude because the layout is kind of like this yellowish white and this orange, which is like the Claude
that is
layout. Yeah, that's a big red flag. The other one is the font that Claude always goes for.
Mhm.
And the third one is that, you'll ask AI, like, I don't know, make a website with cake recipes, and they should be succinct, readable, and tasty. And then it's like the AI will create the website, and in the about section or in like the first few paragraphs when you open the website,
like
it will
some of
be
the
like
requirements and
below
stuff.
are
Like
below are great cakes in a readable, concise, and tasty manner. Like something like that. It will just say the words you said in the prompt, right? And
Yeah.
so that's another thing, right? It's like each paper is displayed with a summary and a blah blah blah. Dude, that's the prompt. Shut the fuck up. I don't know. It's kind of obvious to me. Maybe I work with Claude too much. Yeah, I don't know. But I'll look into it. What Sam is like gassing up this website apparently. Yeah.
Is it like
Yeah.
what
Either
does
way,
it even I guess quote unquote support if it's just a bunch of paper summaries? Like I don't know if there's gonna be like any
basically just progressive taxation. I haven't looked much into it. So it says the best paper in the list is Diamond and Saya is the case for a progressive tax or for progressive taxation. Sure. I suspect that a lot of wealth tax stuff is going to be in it. It talks as if it's like the economic consensus, so we'll look into that. That seems retarded, but yeah, I don't know. Like the website says, below the papers that reflect the consensus, or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's a relic from the prompt. No, but I don't know. I'll read into this prompt. Oh, Sam is watching the stream. No, I cannot shit talk him. No, no, no. Sam, I love you. No, no, no. I didn't say anything bad about Sam. God bless him. God bless him. What a great soul. So I hear you gassing it up. I just asked for your takes. Well, I don't know. What am I? I'll read it. Okay, you know what? Fuck it. Non-fun. Good talking to you. I'll actually go. There are like, what, 40 something papers there. I'll check. Well, I'm not going to read them. I'm just going to look into each one.
I'm just gonna give them
Well,
to my version of Claude, and it's gonna.
Table 5. Dude, I should make the anti-website. I should be like the neoliberal tax reading list.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
It's gonna be like the audited splitter, and then like the efficient redistribution paper. Oh my god, best idea ever. Good one. No. But I'll look into some of these. I'll tell you. I mean, I've just not read most of them, so I cannot really have a take. But I don't know. I scrolled to a random one, and it was Piketty, Capital in the 21st Century.
Oh boy.
It's not terrible. I've not read the book. I know R greater than G, and then it look a bunch of empirical disputes. Okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I will say my guess, and I'll be shocked if I come out thinking otherwise, is that it's like I probably disagree with the takes there a lot, but like if some progressive, take average normie progressive and make them read all the papers, they'll be even if they don't, they'll be a better person to talk to.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's gonna be my impression. So Sam, now you know. Maybe but I'll take a look. Okay.
Okay.
No, that's right. Yep.
True. Wow. Okay, speaking of taxes, I guess we're not gonna watch. I don't know. I'm not gonna watch all this or anything. It's just crazy to me how everything he says here is just like incoherent and it's like nonsense. And he's like he like says words to pretend to be smart. I mean, you'll see. It's wild to me. I don't get it.
Promoting American products instead because they will then be more competitively and cheaper. You're missing the point. He's.
What's up?
Hello. Okay, so yeah, I was like, what do you think of this list? And then I'm tuning in with this list and he's like, oh, Sam was gassing up this list like crazy. Like, what is just
sounds like you were gassing it up.
Also, it's just. There's so many papers. Like he's like, they cite Piketty. Okay, so if I go down and I go to the Piketty section, okay, so it goes, okay, so Piketty. I've searched.
Hold on,
Piketty.
send me this website.
Yeah. Okay. So first thing is Capital in the 21st Century. Okay, and it's distribution and measure. The second one. It's alternate splinter. Oh my god, isn't that crazy? It's got it, bro. Like, it's alternate splinter. Let me.
Which one? Like just their paper inequality.
It's just income inequality in the United States one. Let me send this to you on Discord. If it fucking loads. There we go.
Oh yeah, this definitely does look like Claude, but
it does a bit. But what's wrong with Claude? What's wrong with the prompts? I think the capital taxation section looks. I mean, it looks pretty interesting. The wealth taxation section, like it's got progressive wealth taxation by Soes and Guzukman, but it's also got skeptics.
It's got the Summers Mankiw Sias debate here. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's got the myth of ownership, which I really want to read, but I've heard it's like kind of. I've heard some libertarians think it's like kind of doo doo, but obviously they would think it was doo doo. But I think I read that like humor's got a response to like it, but then someone's got a response to humor and something like that. I don't know. Yeah, I just thought this kind of looked like it's got like videos.
Oh no, it's got the Stephanie Kelton TED Talk in here too. Oh no.
Yeah, it's got that. What's the purpose of taxes and stuff? I think the heterodox section could probably be like way better, but I know that like stuff like I like one of the things is the Musgrave textbook.
There are some taxes I like.
I think it's some Musgrave textbook, and I remember Ray citing this, so it's kind of seems in the know a bit. I asked Sample. And I'm just I don't know. I don't know anything about tax policy or anything. But what do you think about a progressive property tax?
I mean, I feel like that would just complicate things administratively, and I don't really see the value in it. Probably if you design a property tax well enough, it'd be progressive on net anyways, just because you're going to have a bunch of, the people who own homes would be richer, and the bigger home you own, the more likely you are to be richer. Like,
yeah, okay. I just think certain things like we have council tax over here, and it just seems kind of a bit ridiculous. I don't know.
What is up, Sam?
What's up?
Well, I'll tell you what's not up. England after getting raped by Argentina. How beautiful! What a great
god!
Week.
It was so.
What a great week! What a beautiful game!
Oh my god! Tuchel actually generational fumble, bro. It actually.
No, not a fumble. You played. No, it's not a fumble if you never had a chance, right? Like a fumble, you need to have the chance.
I'm sorry. We were. Did you watch the game? Did you watch the game?
I did. 85th minute, you scored. And you still never had a chance.
Who were the refs being paid against?
Okay,
who were they? I saw people that said about the call for the Norway ball that hit the wire.
We were all over them. It wasn't even close.
And you still never had a chance. And you still.
Oh my god! I know we're playing France.
Yeah, okay. It all makes sense. It all makes sense now.
Oh. Wait. Did you watch Argentina Egypt?
No. I've not watched any of the games except for France versus
England.
Spain.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And England games.
Dude, you guys killed Norway. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Well, not really crazy. They're kind of crap, but
Holland. I just like you killed Holland.
Yeah, no, he did like nothing all game. Like he was pretty bad.
But he runs so fast. He runs so fast. Like,
man, we were so much better than Argentina, and then we brought on some defensive players, and then it clearly wasn't working, and then we doubled down on it, and then it was like we brought on more defensive players, and then they scored.
Yeah,
which was a lucky goal, mind you. And then it was
so good. Dude,
and then
you guys like all my left-wing friends? Like you're rooting for Spain just because you agree with their politics more?
God, yeah, no, I'm rooting for Spain. I'm super rooting for Spain.
Oh my god,
you got it.
It's
Steve? What's up?
Good? Not much. You got it.
Oh, okay, Sam. You know why? Wait. The taxation reading list you sent me is crap. You know why? Because it doesn't cite what's their name? Miller, Catherine, whatever the Social Security wealth paper.
That's true.
Okay, they don't cite it. A must read. Also, the top income taxation in the world of ideas. I need to finish it, but it's an interesting idea. Okay, ideas matter. I think Hayek said something about that. No, but either way.
They got there's a. I'm just so clear. Maybe this is like There's a debate between Sayers, Summers, and Mankiw. I didn't know that. It's kind of interesting on the website.
I'll tell you what. So Mankiw is just giving you the like normal take. Well, what do I mean by the normal take? The neoclassical mainstream take. I think it's very worthwhile listening to him. Then Summers comes along and he's just like, I recall him being kind of aggressive. He's like, guys,
Yeah, he is.
I looked at their measures. They don't even get close to my wealth. Okay, I don't know if he implied that they overestimate or underestimate, but he's just like, yeah, it's kind of crap. Okay, so there's that. He then makes a bunch of other points about like, I've been following the Twitter debates and I don't like blah blah blah. Okay, and then Saez is just being nice, and he's like political power, blah 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 blah.
I like Sayers. I think Sayers is
Saez is by far the best of the trio. I agree. I agree. I agree.
I have respect for. I still think Zuckman and Piketty are like.
I'll tell you this. Saez has better work published than Summers.
Interesting thing. Okay. I watched the interview that Zuckman did with on a podcast. And I'm not really sure if the answer for like Capital Flight is to just continue taxing them, but maybe like you can. I kind of get what he was saying, but also it just seems kind of like impractical. You know, if someone moves to America, how are you even going to be able to tax them if you're a foreign nation? Like it's not like fucking thing you can. But I imagine, it sounds impractical. But I imagine like Zuckman's a really smart guy. There'll probably be some sort of like proposal he's got that's actually kind of like not redonkulous. I don't think Zuckman's like a retard or anything.
I feel like
Zuckman is I don't have like examples. It's like this conversation that I had with the argument I had sampled the other day. I don't think Zuckman's like when I think of I'm thinking retard, right? When I'm thinking retard, I'm thinking like Jason Hickel, right? I'm thinking like Peter Schiff. I'm not thinking like Zuckman. I'm not thinking like, I don't know, Phil Magnus, Rob Murphy, or anything like that. Like these are clearly like competent, smart guys.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are like retards. But I'm pretty sure Zuckman has been like fairly kind of dishonest in some of some of the columns that he writes for like the New York Times and stuff. It's just like it's stuff that like he doesn't even like his own papers don't like fine. Oh, he's back.
Sure, but I think that if we, in terms of the public domain, I've always felt that there are people like for instance, like Friedman. I think there's some clips of Friedman, and Friedman's like an actual like bumbling retard with some of his answers. But in terms of like academic papers, I think Friedman's like very clearly like not like a bumbling retard. So I think it does sort of like, in their debate, Larry Summers, look, he got skewered by Jon Stewart, but I think Larry Summers is a smarter guy than Jon Stewart.
Yeah. God, I hate Jon Stewart.
I like Jon Stewart. I think you need good speakers, and I think apparently he did something kind of good for like 9/11 people, which is I saw that somewhere.
Jon Stewart is good for party. That's the problem. Wait, did you see his conversation with Taylor? Did you see his conversation with Richard Taylor?
No.
With Richard Taylor?
Yeah, the behavioral econ guy.
I don't know.
I only saw clips of that one, but I remember afterwards he had a conversation with Orrin Cass because people got mad at him for being unfair to econ. Yeah.
So Jon Stewart was basically talking to Richard Thaler, who is not a neoclassical, whatever, dogmatist. He is like the father of behavioral econ, basically, right? And he got him defending neoclassical economics. And then like the next episode, he was talking to Orrin Cass, the guy who was like validates all his anti-econ opinions. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
Very awful.
There was he talked to Jason Furman and some girl one time. I don't remember the name of the girl, but that conversation was super frustrating too because he was doing all like the same memes of just like econ is just to make all the billionaires rich, and we bailed out all the banks, and everyone got screwed. And back me up, random woman, and Jason Furman was frustrated. You could tell.
Defending,
but they didn't give him.
defending neoliberalism. Yeah, very sad. Yep. What are you going to read? Oh.
Is Orange Cast like a post-liberal?
Yeah, basically. He does like the whole heritage American thing. He complains all the time about how all the evil neoliberals let all the manufacturing be hollowed out and communities be destroyed, and yeah.
I mean, look, I've got different. I could buy into the whole post-liberal, blue labor, sort of like socially conservative, economically left-wing mindset. But when like the big one here is like the blue labor movement, which is set by a guy called Maurice Glassman. But the issue is that like all these people, they all fucking like Patrick Deenan and stuff. They all fucking love Trump. And I think in my opinion, in my opinion, I think the economically left wing portion is way more important than like the socially conservative portion. And
it makes a lot of sense. Like,
not to support like fucking paleo libertarians, and this is true of. I mean, I asked Seth once. I was like, "Would you rather like fucking like woke Bernie or like fucking racialist Hopper?" And he said racialist Hopper. Like, again, like I mean, I think it's probably the case though. Like,
it makes.
And I'd much rather like a socially conservative, like economically progressive country than a socially liberal, economically libertarian country. No offense to my fellow libertarians. Also, I don't know why I said fellow libertarians.
No, I mean, it makes sense that the blue labor. It makes sense that the blue labor people all love Trump because he's a figure as detestable as the working class. So it makes a lot of sense.
But we're getting Andy Burnham. I mean, the thing is, I'm not really sure what he's going to do, but I've seen some really good signs. Like, he's doing the North Sea oil thing. I think there's basically just unnecessary evil at this point.
Trust.
Just drilling oil off the North Sea. Like I think green growth is probably a thing, but you also kind of like the cost of living crisis is pretty bad right now, and they just sort of like refuse to do it. But the green,
are you going to get Andy Burnham?
Yeah, like it's confirmed. Like it's 100% going to happen.
Oh, go.
There isn't. They've had the leadership. There isn't enough MPs to like nominate somebody else that haven't nominated him. Like it's something like 380 out of like 406 MPs, and you need like 30 MPs to nominate somebody. There was like one MP that nominated one other person, and they did this like a troll.
I would 100% prefer. Sorry, Sam, but I prefer like progressive libertarianism. I mean, what are the biggest problems right now? Not building enough, right? That's a huge one. Not having enough immigration. This is like a huge driver of global poverty. These two things are fixed by libertarian policy. What are the rest? The rest is noise, really.
I think that is my thing.
What, we need more infinity unions and welfare? I mean, I don't think so.
I don't know. I think industrial policy is important. I think fiscal policy is important.
No need for industrial policy after we survive AI.
I'm a big government enjoyer, and even you know what's funny? I read of Michael Lind, who's like one of the big like post-liberal people. He's got like a history of. He's got an economic history book of like the United States, and in that book he mentions Mises, and he's like, Mises said this about fascism, and I'm like, yeah, but like he did. I know that like the libertarians like to cope about that. B said that, and it was pretty cringe.
It was bad, but it's not like he was reading this, someone will think he was pro-fascism.
But again, all like even Hayek, Hayek was like, when Kane said in the
No,
long run, we're all
Hayek,
dead,
no
he was
shame,
saying,
man.
I don't
Hayek,
care
no
about.
shame, man.
No, I don't care about the Pinochet thing, but like even I don't care about like slight misrepresentations. I mean, obviously I do, but like when the other side, as it's even like their greatest ever thinkers are doing like when Kane said in the long run we're all dead, he was saying I don't care about the long term effects of my actions.
True. You was saying that.
Like
No,
I don't care
look, I
about
agree.
anything,
I agree
like,
with that. No, I agree with
it's
that. But aren't the
kind of like
post-liberals like Keynesian?
I don't
Maybe.
think this is
I
an
don't
open
know.
borders moment. The real FIFA, this is
what'd
true.
you say?
Terrace, what's up, Terrace? What's up?
Time tells no
Are,
lies.
how's Hamster doing nowadays? He's back on Twitter.
He's same as always.
That's not good.
Who's back? Who's
No,
back on
but
Twitter? Hitler.
yeah.
Yes.
Look. Let's not talk about them.
I
But
mean, look, for
what do you want to talk
1927,
about?
the quote isn't that bad. And you could even say that if it was a purely
Yeah.
positive claim, somewhat correct. Because Mars is obviously saying it's fascism or communism. We know which one he prefers.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, when like five, when there were like five progressive economists that were like, we kind of like Gustavo Petro, like that was the end of the world, but we're running like actual like Fujimori edits. Like, come on, bro. Like, that's cringe.
What
But
do you want? The shiny path? I mean, what the fuck?
huh?
What do you want? The shiny path? The shining.
Too many
I
Bens to
know. I
foil?
think you can have
What
like a
does that mean?
like a
Then
like
accept the dichotomy. Get in line.
if the options, okay, if let's say the options were I don't know, who would you rather vote for, Hassan Piker or Fuentes?
Oh my god, that's such a dog shit. Probably Hassan, because like there's a good chance he doesn't give a fuck, and he will be more fixable. I mean, Nick
Mhm.
Fuentes said he wants to
think
fix in black
opposite.
neighborhoods. I mean, what will fucking
Yeah.
Hassan do? Hassan will like LARP for 4 years, cut
He'll
like I don't know,
destroy
maybe bomb Israel,
your country. Yeah,
and
exactly.
yeah, like he will bomb Israel, LARP for 4 years, and like send aid to Cuba, and then like
Jackson
I
Hinkle
don't
or
know.
Nick Fuentes?
Fuck. Um. Yeah.
Is Hinkle
Pick a coin,
pro
maybe.
immigration?
I don't know.
I don't know, but if he is, it's just like as a ploy to destroy the America. It's like the guy's like a super giga fucking growth communist. He's like a retard. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know that's about where I'm flipping a coin.
But let's say we all like, I don't know, let's say we conceded that like, I don't know, Hinkle's better in this situation, right? Like, I'm not running Hinkle edits.
Hinkle
I'm not
edits.
being like, oh my god, like look at these crying like fascists. Look at I'm not running.
Well, they will
I don't
run
like
Fuentes
Jackson
edits.
Hinkle.
So, yeah.
And I think
How many people
in
did
the Peru
Fujimori
case,
kill?
I think in the Peru case, Fujimori's retarded. There's better candidates. There's better like everybody hates populism until it's like a 1% libertarian populist, and then it's like, oh, all steams ahead. We love
Oh my
Malay.
god!
We love Fujimori. We
Okay,
love
I have not read much about Fujimori. I've not read much about Fujimori, but it seems like he's been responsible for the death squads that killed 25 people. Okay, dude, if the Shining Path got their way, they would have killed hundreds of thousands of people.
Look, everyone, even bad Empanada made a whole video about the Shining Path for like really
Just like
bad.
me for real, Trotsky.
That's cool, but Fujimori can be really bad too. Also, you don't need death squads and stuff to just do bad stuff.
Well, look, I'm fine with running Malay edits.
How many death squads?
Trotsky
right?
says Shining Path would have been net welfare positive sample. What are your thoughts on this?
How Literally how? What's the mechanism? What's
They
the
were they
what's
were
the one?
even
What's the
you know
PEPFAR? What's their
how bad
PEPFAR?
you know how bad you have to be for Bad and Pinata to make a you're too left
What are you
wing
talking about?
video about you? Like that's
Like,
that's
didn't you have a
so
video telling like your labor union is bad because they're in like the labor aristocracy or something? I
it was
agree
just
with
like
the with
look, they were just like going into random towns and taking all their money and say we need this for the war effort. And if you disagree, then they're like you're too. I think that's like it's kind of hilarious. Like that's crazy. That's nuts. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I'm fine with someone making Malay edits, and you just multiply the evilness of Malay and the alternatives by 100, and you get Fujimori versus the Shining Path. So it's like, okay, you know,
Making per? Do you mean Peru? I'm assuming
yeah, learn
Peru
how to
poorer
speak, buddy.
would
Yeah,
prevent
learning.
recent industrial animal farming developments. Oh, that's true.
Oh yeah, that's what Tarky take. Like every time you say, "Oh, I think we should have growth and not like
I was
totally
gonna
fail
say,
and become third world," he says,
yeah. Have you
"Oh, but you
considered?
buy meat, don't you? You buy meat sometimes." Oh, I'm very
Have you
clever.
considered that
Well,
all the
yeah,
neoliberal economic growth has actually been bad because animal suffering and factory farming increases along with it. So
yeah.
net.
Yeah, well, for one, you also, for one, no, I don't think it like offsets all the positives. And for three, I mean, look, think of the long term. You know, we're gonna be vegan, all vegan one day. So
That's
more
true.
prosperity
So
means
the
more
faster we
technology.
get
For
to
now,
lab
which
grown
means
meat,
we improve. Yeah, that's right.
I think it's true though.
Yeah, I'm not an
Although LABA, yeah,
anti-natalist. Like, I mean, this logic, this is like anti-natalist logic. Charsky knows he's just defending the Shining Path because he agrees with them. This is murderous. This guy's murderous.
I'm throwing at
Sorry,
Lucioball right now. I'm
yeah.
defending them because they had aura.
By the way, on the fascism thing, you know what's the best thing that happened in 1945? Not the defeat of the Nazis. Okay, it was Otto Neurath dying. Okay, Charsky, that was the best thing
Oh
in the whole
no!
20th
Also,
century. Actually,
I like. Also, I think
I
not
know.
just
I'm just
like
trying to return the favor. Like he says evil shit, I'll say evil shit. It's fair.
bro,
It's only
like no,
fair.
that's such a like.
It's
He's
only
such a
fair.
lovely, smiley, bold guy. What the hell?
It's only fair. It's only fair.
What the hell? That's too far, man.
Yeah.
Well, we,
Yeah, that's
Wrong.
bro,
It
right.
was nuking
that's
Hiroshima. Thank you,
No,
Patrol. True.
no, that was. Oh, I think you misheard me. I didn't say the best. I said the worst. They didn't nuke Japan enough. But yeah.
where's Chomsky
Yeah.
saying all this? Is it in?
In chat.
Is it?
Um,
Is he?
that wasn't
Is he
Charsky that said it was
Barbarism
someone else,
fan?
but in YouTube chat, one of the non-fun
Oh,
whales said that.
Hmm. What was the? What did you say?
What do we say?
No, never mind. Anyway, I
either way.
love.
So yeah, I hope Spain gets crushed. I'm glad England got crushed. It had to
Oh
happen.
my god! Like genuinely, if England had beaten
This is
Argentina,
cool.
I'm
This is
I'm
how
posting
Egyptians
like
sound.
I'm posting like oh I ha like in Malay, fuck you in all caps. I was so ready. I was so ready to post that. So sucks. Ugh.
That's right. No, but okay. So let
Although
me tell you about Egypt
if
Argentina. That was
Argentina
the best
loses,
game I've ever seen. Wait. So let me tell you about Egypt.
then keep in mind if Argentina loses, then keep in mind one when there's a correlation between there being Peronists in power and the Argentinian football team being more successful.
Very true. Very true. Very
Wait,
true.
Sam, do you have like
No, very
state
true.
like state owned or like operated like sports teams in the UK. I saw people simping for Norway because I think they I just threw, but they have like a lot of their recreational sports stuff is like state owned or something. Where in the US we have based private equity operated like recreational youth sports.
I don't think that there's I don't think so. I think that
But that's what they played so shit.
How clued in are you guys into British politics?
I'm not that tuned in.
Not really.
I see stuff on Twitter, but that's basically about it.
Do you know who Restore Britain are?
I know about them, and
Yeah, like the leader of Restore Britain is this guy called Rupert Lowe.
Where'd our goalie go? What the fuck?
He used to be the chairman of a football club, and he made them go bust, which is quite funny.
Yeah. Well, but I will say
the guy that like Sargon and is like super big fan, and like Zuma historian.
Is Sargon still a figure in British politics or something? Like, do people listen to that guy?
Sargon, I mean, look, Sargon's got like this. Like, if you look at like, I think it's called the Lotus Eaters or something. It's like his YouTube channel. They get a lot of views. Like, they've got like they're really popular. Like, they're about as popular as like Navarra Media, which is quite a big thing. Which has got like Aaron Bastani and stuff on it. But they're pretty popular, and they have Rupert Lowe on there, and I mean Elon Musk really likes Rupert Lowe, and he really likes Tom Robertson and stuff. But there's a bit of a split because basically all the white nationalists joined Restore Britain, and then Rupert Lowe was saying stuff like, "Oh, like I don't think multiculturalism is like inherently bad. I just think it's like been bad practically," and they all like lost their shit, and there's a big like divide in the party now. Also, can someone what the it's like the I feel like I was looking into the remigration thing, and I just think that firstly nobody can tell me what it means. It's like
Why is Edge
10
doing
different
this
people
again?
have 10 different definitions of what reimmigration means. It's like some people go, it's like an Ashwell like Moss and Bailey, you know, the defensive position is that, we just say that like we should deport you if like you're claiming benefits or like you're a net physical drag and stuff, and then you go to the non-defensive position, which is
it's stupid.
we want to deport every black person that came ever, or any immigrant that came since 1940, and then all of their children, and then all of their children's children, and etc.
Yeah, when I understand it, remigration usually I feel like the people who use that term, at least from what I've seen, are usually like all self-described like white nationalist type people. Like their concern is about ethnicity
and the United States current White House administration.
And JD Vance and
I don't think. I mean, yeah, but Vance doesn't mean Vance clearly, and it's. I think the AFD have it in a thing. Like I think they basically clearly don't just mean we want to deport like every non-white person, right? Like, you know, Vance isn't like being like, I'm sorry, Usha, you've got to go back to India. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, it's not like that's probably not what's happening. But it's always so disgusting when these like remigration people be like, and they're like, oh, I mean, the AFD have it in the manifesto. But okay,
but for you to know what
when the AFD talk about it, the AFD is saying stuff like, we want to get rid of all the criminals and like all the like net physical drag people. Like, they're not saying what you're saying, which is that we want to deport all the like people from Pakistan and all the people from fucking Somalia. Although I think the Republicans would be. I think a Republican, if there was a law. Wait, what was the guy? Wasn't it like Andy Ogles saying that like I'm gonna pass this law which will like deport Zoran? I don't know.
Yeah. That's just evil.
Just every new batch of Republicans has like they've got like, I mean, they're all fucking crazy, but they always have like every like thing. They've always got like 3 to 4 great like actual like fucking insanely like at first it was like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then it was like George Santos, and then who's it? Matt Gates. Where the fuck is that guy gone? Ever since he didn't get confirmed, like that guy's actually dropped off the face of the earth, and now it's like Randy Fine and Andy Ogles, and then you've also got that like Hispanic Republican woman that's like all Muslims are like fucking pedophiles or something. Like they're all
Yeah.
right. And then these are the people that I'm gonna say it, but these are the people that was like, I'm being Fields age. Should I vote for these people? Or should I vote for some people that are like kind of skeptical about the role that AI should play in society and whether we should like fully like let it loose, you know? It's a very tough one.
He did say this like non-federal level, I think.
Come on, like
Wait,
you know that
is
this
there
it's Trump's party.
anything?
Well, he lives in New York.
anything
He lives in
new
New York.
beyond what was
Aren't New York
revealed? I just remember
Aren't New York Republicans
like
Trump
he-
endorsed? Like I agree. Trump's
Allegedly.
evil, and they're like I
as
agree with all what you
17-year-old
said.
at the whatever
But, like,
party.
Yeah, and I agree. Meanfield Zane has a shit take, but it's not like he's saying, "Oh, I'm voting for Alabama Republicans." He's saying, "I'm voting for New York Republicans."
Yeah.
Or like,
Okay, I think that's because who was that one girl that won in New York? I was kind of really surprised that she won. That's kind of fun. That's kind of funny because she said some wild things.
The girl who had like a bunch of old Twitter posts that Zorhan endorsed. I forget her.
Yeah.
Her name, but yeah. DAC.
Charlier? No, Liza Charlier. Well, what's her name? The first name?
I don't remember her. The initials of DAC. I remember it's a name that my
it's her. Charlier. It's Charlier. Yeah.
Also,
she's crazy.
RIP Graham Plattner. That was just kind of bro, like
rape in peace.
Didn't she have anti-Ukraine takes?
Wait, did you hear that? That was a
people
funny
running
joke.
victory laps are okay.
Yeah,
Firstly,
sorry.
okay. I think that people that are running victory laps around it. I don't think that these people, a lot of them that were, on the neoliberal side, their issue with Plattner was not these controversies. I mean, towards the end it was, obviously. But like when they were like, oh, we told you guys, their issue was not the controversies, or they thought their issue was that they thought that Plattner was a populist and that like he was like progressive. Like that was the issue, right? Like they don't like El Sayed either, which is, I mean, it's fair. Like it's whatever, but they also don't like Rokana, all the lot. Like, I mean,
Rokana is a retard. He's just like bad for the party. The guy's a retard. Yeah, Rokana has bad judgment, bad policy, bad ideas. He's just like not contributing. He's not even a good fighter. He doesn't have good aesthetics. It's like a terrible contribution to the Democratic Party. But he's better than Republicans.
I think he's got good aesthetic. But I like Troy Jackson. I think he probably, based on the odds of what I saw, was going to be.
It seems like the convergence of modern progressive, like DSA people are like Israel, money in politics, Israel, Medicare for all. It's just so stupid. It's like, it's economically destructive.
I don't like Plattner for like all the policy reasons and stuff, but like I also don't think and I think at least some Twitter libs out there I've had this criticism too. I don't like the whole way he was selected, and I think the populist way of trying to get candidates is just not effective. You're gonna lead to cases like Plattner where you don't properly vet someone.
Let's say this. Okay, let's say Plattner is a candidate. Let's say the controversy stuff doesn't happen. Plattner is a candidate. Okay, Plattner wins. Okay, who do you think is worse for the Democratic Party, Plattner or John Fetterman?
It's hard to know. Well, John Fetterman is unique because he had a stroke, but like, and he's a retard. But like, there are many centrists that are not John Fetterman, right? Like the Glusenkamp, whatever. What's her name?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's an issue. Is that I also find that a lot of these people No, I'm getting
Also,
called
wait,
the
wait.
centrist or whatever, but the
Let me just fucking
centrists are
remind you.
like really
Fetterman,
bad
wait, wait,
at
wait,
like
wait, Sam,
letting people.
Fetterman was the fucking progressives candidate. They were all fucking celebrating when he got
Yeah,
elected.
no, I
So
know,
spare me.
but no, I know,
Spare
but
me.
then
Okay. Yeah,
I
so
think that
that's
there are some
another
people.
thing.
I think there are some people like it seems like who's the like Nevada, is it Nevada? He's like Hispanic and he was like ran as a progressive and then he's become like a centrist. Like I think that guy's fine. Let me go on demo 2028 election, and then I can go on this. I think his name begins with R. Let me see if I can find it.
Senator, Congressman.
Ruben Gallego. Okay.
Oh, Ruben Gallego, isn't he? Yeah, wait, isn't he part of the? Isn't he part of the Progressive Caucus?
Yeah, but he's like become more like a moderate. I'm pretty sure. When like he's
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, if by moderate we mean like we don't want like
he's fine. I pretty sure like ever since like he's done. Like he's embraced the. It says. Also, I don't like to trust Wikipedia. It says he's embraced the centrist platform. He's a founding member of the centrist majority Democrats, along with Elisa Slotkin and Michael Bennett. When he was in the House, he was
Aussie tattoo
progressive.
skin
I think
alone, maybe not want Graham elected, but everything else maybe want to go.
Well, I'll tell you what, AOC moderated a fair bit. But she still does a lot of retard shit.
AOC used to say stuff like when she was asked about whether she when it was like, oh, like the stuff in which you support, is it more like the Soviet Union or is it more like Norway and Sweden? She used to be like, no, it's more like the Soviet Union. And now she's probably like moderated quite considerably. But like even like, you see these people, like, I mean, it's just a bit of like politics stuff. But I just think that there's certain things like Labour, like let's say Labour, for instance, like from a policy perspective, okay. I mean, I've not looked into immigration that much, but it seems like immigration is a net good for the economy. And if you just had like open borders, that would be like really good, right? But politically speaking, that's like political suicide. Same with getting rid of the triple lock, is that the triple lock is like actually like the worst like Hitlerite thing ever. But
I don't think I would vote Rubio unless there was like some.
It's just
incredible showing of
reform immigration. Obviously not open borders, but you could do more immigration and have it politically acceptable. What hurt Biden was the like border,
a Democratic majority.
Right,
she got everything.
It's just like the videos of everyone coming along or something. But if you have expedited visas,
I think it's the number. I think it's probably the number. I think that's the people that like people. I don't think people need to see the videos. People just be like, "Oh, look how many people came into this country last year."
Yeah, but does the number matter? People lie about numbers. People just make up numbers. Like Trump, look at Trump. They just make up numbers.
Sure, but I think
what's hard to fake is videos and stuff, like the stuff you see.
Sure, but I just mean in terms of like
that's what I don't like. That's what I don't know if you've been here shows giving people yell at me. I said I would vote for. I think I said I would vote for DAC over a MAGA Republican, just because I don't think.
Same with Labour. I think that Labour needs to
even non-MAGA Republicans, a lot of them would never vote to like impeach or convict Trump or any of his appointees, or even to subpoena them.
Green perspective.
Either way, I gotta go. But
Sample, if it's AOC or Rubio, who are you voting?
On
no AOC. I mean, AOC, well, for one, she'll be constrained by both houses. The other thing is, like, she has some good policies. Rubio does have some good policies too, but like, his hands are painted in red. So AOC will just like be a retard and whatever about a bunch of stuff. The thing that I care most about is like institutional reform. I think the court needs to be reformed, and I think. We're not going to get it, but like the electoral college sucks. So I think AOC is going to deliver on that.
Yeah, that's what I said. Something similar to it was Charsky who asked.
But it's not like there's not a lot more room. Like if If it's someone like Hassan or Rubio, I'm voting Rubio. It's not even hard.
Sure. What about if it was Hassan or Tucker Carlson?
Fuck. That's another.
Actually,
Yeah.
let's go with Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna or Thomas Massey.
Fuck, Rokana, easy. What the fuck?
Yes.
Massey is a mega. Massey is a giga retard. Like he is a giga retard. What good policies does he have? I mean, I guess he's against the tariffs and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like the Mises Institute guy. Like he's like the Ron Paul.
Yeah, maybe. Nowadays he's like Israel. Like, they're both Israel. That's both of them. So it's like, what's the difference?
I mean, I wasn't. Didn't Khanna go to like the settlements when they like arrested him or something? Like, it's kind of crazy. But I'm not.
Wait, Rokana? No,
Yeah.
that's like a bunch. That's stupid. No.
Is that not what happened?
Well, the video was released. He was like, initially was like, oh, the violent settler attack or something. I forget exactly his words. But then you see the video and he's just like, he's getting into a military zone. It's like, yeah, you cannot get here. And then there's just like a tank.
Okay.
It's not. It wasn't violent. It wasn't like a violent arrest, like you said. I don't know. Like part of me makes me think he wanted to do that to talk about Israel more, but I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
I just think again.
Like, I don't know.
The main.
I mean, I don't know. If you're a congressman, can you just like drive into a military zone forever? Like, I agree. It's bad that it's there, but can you just drive into any military zone and never get arrested?
Yeah,
I don't know.
People. I don't know. Why they hate on Khanna. He's a abundance proponent. He's a member of the Yimby caucus.
Oh, fuck. It can't scare me that he's not an abundance proponent. He'd be like, yeah, we need and then he will shut up about it forever. I mean, he says like, yeah, I'm a Yimby, and then like he will like lie. No, he's not an abundance guy. He will just tranquilate whatever.
That's my
Absolutely
guy.
not. Absolutely not. You should watch the Micah video about Rokana.
He's cool.
Oh, he had a debate with SDL. Fuck, I should find it.
Oh yeah, but
my God.
Yeah, no, but he's like, oh, God, I can't remember. It was like, I think Micah. I think Micah's done. Like, I've so much more respect for Micah than I used to, because he's noticed that the biggest thing is not these like it's low key. It's not these like big like politics. Like, if you want to become like a political commentator, the big thing is to just acknowledge that like Trump is like evil, which is like fair, and not to talk about Twitter Hitler, but I remember him saying something like, "Oh, so you just think anyone that voted for Trump is evil, or like you just think probably, or like close to it."
Yeah. I'm trying to find they had a video on Rokana.
I just think at the moment you need a good. All politics is at the moment is vibes, so you need good speakers, and I don't care. Like, in terms of the Democrats, right? Obviously, I've got my preferences, but Ro Khanna is a good speaker. Like Keir Starmer.
No, he isn't.
Right?
Dude, if you want a good speaker, then John Ossoff. Rokana is not even a good speaker.
John Ossoff is also a good speaker, but I feel like Rokana is.
Yeah.
And he does appeal to people for some reason. I don't get it.
I don't get it. He has no aura. He has no vibe. It's slop. It's like Bernie 2.0. It's Bernie's a good speaker. Rokana never impressed me as a speaker. I don't know. Maybe I need to watch more of his
you
stuff.
Think Ossoff
Every time he posts a video, it's like, well, I think we as progressives, we need to do that. Like, he just sounds nerdy and
I don't
stupid.
even like. Which means you probably do like it.
Like, I don't know. I think I think Khan's a good speaker. I think Newsom's a good speaker. I think that Ossoff's a good speaker. I think that Buttigieg is probably good. Is probably a good speaker, but I think he's a bit too
I don't know. My top choice is Ossoff for the election.
All I'm saying is like Keir Starmer could have been the most progressive, like based, like person ever. I don't care. Like that guy is so like I don't care what even the policies or stuff. No matter what his policies were, nobody is liking that guy. He is
speaker at the
boring
moment
in
who
the
has
modern
the
era.
least
Like nobody
good
is liking
enough
that
policies,
guy. Nobody is
the
like
least good
getting
enough
like
policies?
motivated by that guy.
All right,
But,
sorry,
like,
at least good enough policies. I think they're all like at least, or I should say, at least not bad enough.
Like
Maybe
Blair was
Buttigieg.
Not motivated by who?
I think I would say Buttigieg,
Sorry,
but
God,
he's
I can't
gay,
really
so
say.
that
What'd you say?
probably counts
Who is
against
not
him.
motivated? Starmer, maybe.
Yeah.
I know, Ro kind of is
But,
a
like,
retard. I don't know. I've never seen
But,
any
like,
indication
like,
otherwise.
Like, dude, I
If
could
you go back and watch like
have
Tony
scored there if I
Blair,
wasn't
Tony Blair
using
was
my
an
E
unbelievable
ability.
speaker, ridiculous speaker.
Maybe. Okay.
I think that's and Obama was an amazing speaker. You know, it's about having like charisma and being able to think on your feet and stuff. And I think Khan's got that. I think Ossoff's got that. I think Newsom's got that. Obviously, Joe Biden does not have that. It doesn't matter how good Biden's policy is. Same with Trump. Trump probably kind of used to have it a bit. I think Rubio might have it. I don't think Vance has got it. I think Vance is a retard.
Yeah, Vance is retarded.
But we might get slightly more economically left-wing stuff, so I don't care that much. I think, yeah. I think that the whole, the main issue is just the whole, rule of law thing that I don't like, but yeah. Alright, I got to go. Yeah. Love you, non-fun. Love you. All right. Say it back.
You're all gonna do this to me? You're all gonna do this to me? Really?
You know,
really?
I want to say it back.
I love and appreciate you, Sam. I appreciate you coming on.
You. Love you, chat. I've not seen any chat or something, but I hope it goes well. Anyway, bye.
Give me 1 second here, chat. We got a minute left in this game. I gotta win this shit. 7-2 right now. Oh wait, shit. We're 5 ahead. We won. Goated. My intellectual virtue goats. They're goats merely by the fact that they're non-fun orbiters. But yeah, I saw people glaze in Norway for their state-owned youth sports. Well, yeah, I don't know, maybe there's something to it, but who knows. Anyway, this real quick, just because it shouldn't be shocking to me, but it's shocking.
It's missing the point. A tariff is not paid at the point of sale of consumption, of consumer spending. A tariff is paid by a company that imports goods from other countries, and it's paid when the goods are imported.
Okay, so first of all, he said the way he says here that it's paid by a company that imports something from another country, which can't be true. You can if you directly import something, pay a tariff, right? If I go and buy something directly from a Chinese dude, you can get a tariff bill. You can actually you can do that if you want, okay? But yeah, obviously most of it is by companies that import stuff. But that's still an American company usually. Sometimes it's like a subsidiary of a Chinese company or something. Like a Chinese company might be headquartered in China, then they have a US subsidiary or whatever, right? But that still affects US economic activity and such. And he kind of later on, I don't want to say walks back, but contradicts this. Here it makes it sound like it's being paid by at least someone legally stationed in the US, which obviously it is. It has to be. Later it sounds like he makes it sound like China is directly paying it.
The reason you put a tariff on imports is when a foreign country is able to undercut American companies because of advantages and factors of production.
So the reason you do it is because other countries have, or they can undercut us because of an advantage in factors of production. So no, in fact, half the fucking point is that because they have an advantage in the factors of production, because they have different factor endowments, it's efficient to trade with them because of competitive advantage. Or even like throughout this, he gets like almost halfway to like an HO model. I always forget how to pronounce it. People's name, Hector Olin or whatever. Of, you know, like the one country being relatively capital abundant, another country being relatively labor abundant. But like, if he would have just like, you know, write down some numbers, even like you could like calculate, like you could look at the opportunity cost and see that it would be efficient to trade. He's just very dumb. I mean, obviously, but I've said it before, but you know, sometimes I feel dumb, and it just feels good to know, like, okay, there's people out here who he's about to make a very like dumb mistake, and people like Demon Mama and like the Dispel guy, okay, and they all have audiences, okay, to varying degrees, okay, so I'm all right.
Factors of production are land, people, capital, entrepreneurship, and technology.
So, no.
Cut American companies because of advantages and factors of production. Factors of production are land,
so land, true. People, kind of. Now, what he says later kind of makes it, the fact that it says people, weird. But people, so labor usually is what people say. But sure, people.
Capital,
capital, sure.
Entrepreneurship and technology.
Entrepreneurship, which is sometimes included, sometimes not. People, entrepreneurship, ideas, whatever, and then technology. That is usually included under either entrepreneurship or capital. Like,
but really, the big three are land, capital, and labor. So China has abundant labor, and it has land, and because of where they're at in their development,
shocking.
They have very cheap labor. They have very cheap labor costs. They have lower standards of living, lower quality of life, lack of economic development. So in the same way that during the Industrial Revolution,
so it doesn't matter as much as to like more broader conceptual mistakes he's making or whatever. But China's labor is not actually like that cheap now. There are plenty of other countries that have a lot of cheaper labor than China by now. They do kind of suppress the manufacturing wages. If you read that, China is a large nation full of many Chinese. It's full of many Chinese people and many Chinese lands and many Chinese ideas and many Chinese technologies. Give me a second. Oh, I forgot Edge is doing this bullshit again. Kill me. Like this is like a generally understood thing that like China does kind of artificially, I say artificially, but you know, by matter of policy, it tries to keep their manufacturing sector strong, tries to keep their export industry strong, oftentimes at the cost of their own domestic consumption. But by now, China is a relatively capital abundant country. It is its wages are not as low as many other countries, but you can look at like this comparing the share of China's manufacturing output that goes to workers fell from 6.3% in 1992 to 1.8% in 2010. It's recovered only to about 3.3% in 2024. I think there's a question mark. I thought a comparison of how that stands to other countries, but they might not. It might not be.
Americans didn't live very well. The Chinese aren't living very well.
Always fascinating how China is the poorest Chinese country.
Just like there's a population boom back then, there's a population boom or was in China. So they have cheap labor. So you'll never do textiles in America as long as you can get it so much cheaper in America, or in China rather, because of sweatshops, because of labor.
So Kind of. We obviously do have, we already have some textiles in America, because even absent the, or even despite the cheap labor there, whatever, it's still actually economical to, on the margin, at some very low margin amount of production, have textile production in the U.S. But plus you need the American textile union backed labor to sell the socialist streamer merch and the politician union backed labor merch for, like my Biden head, made in a union, American made union manufacturing firm. I don't know what you would call a firm that makes fucking Biden heads. But regardless of that, conceptually, I think if you just kind of like wrote out like what America, what the opportunity cost would be to America for making those things, you might come to understand. You might be able to do some just a little bit of math, not even that much math, just like a little bit of math, and just see how both countries could consume outside of their PPF curve. To say nothing of all like the information that might be transmitted through trade, all of the economies of scale, and the entries in the markets that might be created through trade, because companies, and there's a bigger return to ideas and new technology if the market is bigger.
As an example, as such, their cost is lower. The cost to produce in America is higher. The cost to produce in China is lower. Cost,
Whoa.
not price. If your cost is lower, you can have a lower price because
Shocking.
of the profit.
You can have a lower price because of
If your
profit.
cost is 5 and your price is 10, you make $5 in profit. But if your cost is 10 and your price is 12, you make $12 profit. Even though your price is higher.
I mean, I'm assuming he just misspoke there, but obviously the $12 is not profit in that case.
Your profit is lower because your cost is higher. What a tariff does is it increases cost. China, for example, would pay a tariff, which
So now it seems like he said China is paying it, and he's saying it increases the cost of production in China, which is not how that works. Even in the case of like a Chinese subsidiary company importing stuff to the U.S., is not raising the cost of production in China, just raising the cost of the ultimately to consumers, but to the foreign subsidiary in the U.S. And then, there's something else I was going to say, but I fucking forgot.
China, for example, would pay a tariff, which would increase their cost. And it would take away the advantage they have in terms of their cheaper labor cost. So they would either have to raise prices, which they might.
Oh, they would have to raise prices. This is what I was going to say. To the extent, if he understands the, a tariff could increase cost to fucking and consumers or whatever. But importantly, what if tariffs increase costs to like companies importing capital goods, like goods used to make other goods, intermediate materials? Like, what do we think is going to happen to like investment under that scenario? Like, don't you think that's going to have some negative effects as well? We might care about that as well. And obviously some of that is passed on to consumers too.
So they would either have to raise prices, which they might, or they would absorb most or all of the cost of the tariff.
And it's like, we just like have, which under his model, it doesn't even make sense, but because he doesn't, I don't think he understands who pays the tariff. But like, we just have, measures of like pre-tariff prices, pre-tariff export prices, and we can do, pretty decent research on the incidence of tariffs. And it just seems like that just doesn't happen. That just like doesn't happen. Like, we can even see from, I cited this. I think I was arguing with someone like under this video on Twitter or whatever. It's like, even if you want to dismiss all of the actual like price data we have for the U.S., that one paper from like the German Kier Institute or whatever, like they have a good measure of Indian pre-export prices from, they call it like FOB data. I think it's called like free. I think it's free on board, but it lets you get pretty good data from India about pre-tariff export prices, and you can compare per unit prices of goods going to the US versus other destinations before and after, we imposed a 40% tariff on them. And when you know it, like the total value of exports fell, but the unit value didn't, which is what you would expect if tariffs raised the final price to consumers. The U.S. should regime change Cuba and insert a radical dangus. True. I mean, like, I don't know what you think I'm going to say. I'm going to say the same thing that I always say when you say something like this. If I could like press a button and do that, I probably would. But it's not clear to me that we would actually be able to do that in a, manner that would make it a net benefit.
They would either absorb the full cost of the tariff from their profit to sell at the same price, and it makes them less profitable, and the economics of a business change based on profit, or they would have to raise.
Have economists considered that the economics of a business change because of profit?
Their price marginally. But the point is, they don't pass the full cost of the tariff on to the consumer. They won't, if, for example, in that example, let's say that those are the numbers. Cost is 5, price is 10, profit is 5 for China. Cost is 10, price is 12, profit is 2 for America. Let's say we impose a $5 tariff on China. Now their cost is 10. Now they may have to raise their price to 12 in that example. But are they passing the full $5 cost onto the consumer? No. The cost they're passing on to the consumer.
Only 90% of it.
Too.
And it also, again, doesn't make sense because it's obviously typically a U.S. company or even end consumer paying the tariff.
They're absorbing the remaining cost from their profit. They're making a lower profit margin. And now that they're making less profit, even if the price is higher, the profit is less, the cost is higher, they're less competitive than they otherwise would be. And the goal is that it makes American industry more competitive. Maybe at that higher price, America's more competitive.
And we have no reason to believe that we'd be giving up anything to do that. And no reason to believe that maybe the uncertainty from how the tariffs are being imposed would be bad, and like maybe market entry would be negatively affected because information is also transmitted during trade and because there are benefits from economies of scale and
maybe at the same price they're less profitable and it changes the economics of their business. American companies can be more profitable and it fosters American industry. But this is the economics. And here's the other point. Let's say the tariffs, and I said yes, it is true. Trump had tariffs and it did increase the cost on certain goods. I said, but it was marginal and the full cost of the tariff wasn't passed on. And everyone knows that. That's one. But here's two.
Everyone knows that.
War, the federal government was almost fully funded by tariffs.
Whoa. Has anyone ever considered this? So like, yeah, but government spending was 3% of GDP. And even Fuentes doesn't want government spending to be 3% of GDP. And they were just like relatively easy to impose back then. That's what we have the state capacity to do. And that's why a lot of poor countries rely on tariffs for some of their for revenue for that reason, because it's just kind of easier to enforce tariffs to look at all the goods coming in through your ports and such than it is to have like a income tax system. Doesn't actually mean the tax is more efficient. And it doesn't even seem like, we have studies trying to isolate the effects of tariffs even during that time period. And it seems like they actually probably didn't even really help manufacturing. Like I think that Irwin 2000 question mark. I think it's that one study. Like didn't find any positive effect of them on labor productivity in the industries that they were supposed to be protecting, which is presumably the mechanism by which you would, help our domestic industries.
What does that mean? It means that when you have high tariffs, you don't have an income tax. So
whoa.
They will say, well, a tariff is a sale.
It's not even a causal inference. It's just just obviously logically not true. Like we have at least relatively high tariffs right now, and we have an income tax. I'm sure there are other countries we could look at to see. Macro and micro with full anti-tariff propaganda. I know, for real. Trump, in my opinion, looks to cement a permanent power past his presidency, not for the U.S., but for him and his. So when he uses executive action to impose tools that widely influence the global market, I truly assume it's for self-interest. But I think Trump himself probably just has certain beliefs about trade deficits and the U.S. being ripped off and such. And I think that he likes media attention, and I think that he likes specifically the media attention when he gets like a good deal, quote unquote, and stuff like that. That's the excuse. But I'm just saying, I think like the tariffs, a lot of it is him being like egotistical, and also him just having dumb ideas about economics and surrounding himself with surrounding himself with yes men, but Navarro was like the only full on yes man. Even like Besson and Myron did not really like the tariff plan that they ended up going with. It was only Navarro who liked the Liberation Day plan.
Have high tariffs, you don't have an income tax. So they will say, well, a tariff is a sales tax. It's like, no, it isn't. It's a tax on imports. And they'll say, well, so what? If you're putting in a 15% tariff, it's a 15% cost on goods. No, it isn't, because the full cost of the tariff isn't passed down. And even if prices go up slightly, they could eventually be offset once you have fostered American industry. Once American industries can make profits and develop economies of scale, meaning your cost goes down when the business is bigger.
And there's no reason to think that economies of scale, might increase with like, the size of the market that companies can sell to or that we can import from. And like, no reason, no Nobel Prize winning economist who has written about that before.
Then maybe prices can go down and stabilize as well. So there's other considerations there as well. But it also forgets the fact that if you have tariffs bringing in revenue for the government, then you can cut taxes. And that's the point. His argument was Trump is going to increase the deficit with tax cuts, and there's going to be a consumer tax cut, which is a tariff. But if you have high tariffs, you bring in money and it offsets the fiscal impact of tax cuts. You can cut taxes, increase tariffs, and you're going to have other countries pay.
You also just cannot raise as much revenue as the income tax from tariffs, let alone all the other taxes we currently have. Even if you assume like no avoidance and like no, and obviously that there's a tension even between, him saying we're going to get all this industry back. It's going to be so great. We're going to stop it. Prices are going to come back down because we build everything here. And the fact that he's also saying we're going to raise so much revenue because presumably if prices come down and people are building stuff here and buying stuff from here, well, where are you getting your revenue from, right? If imports are going down, you're not going to have as much revenue. But even if you don't, if you assume basically no avoidance and no adjustment on the amount of imports being that people are buying, you just cannot raise as much revenue from tariffs, from a 10% tariff even as the income tax does.
Pay the tariff and absorb much of it, almost all of it, to gain access to American markets.
What's the optimal tariff? I mean, I don't know what the actual average effective tariff rate would be for the U.S., but it's going to be fairly low, and it's probably going to be, in a relative select few industries.
And that money goes to the government.
At which point, I don't even think, I think you should be skeptical, the government's ability to keep up with what the optimal tariff, is. Are we really? I'm sure maybe there's an optimal tariff in the Chinese, microwave part industry. Okay, and it's maybe there's an optimal tariff to be found in tariffing them so that they lower prices and actually the terms of trade marginally improve in our favor. But is that really what the federal government is going to be good at doing? Probably not. Oh, Toy Groper. Ayo, let's go. Nick content. Oh boy. I mean, we're shitting on him. I'm not sure if you're familiar with my thing here, but everything it says here is just totally incoherent and nonsense. Assuming tariffs should be the tool used to equalize examples of people gaming the system, bad actors. Optimal tariff, to be fair, it's not based on that. It's just based on the being able to improve the terms of trade when you have market power.
Government, it funds the government instead of paying tax. This is like economics 101. Hello, it's economics 101.
True, which Nick Fuentes is very skilled in, which is why he couldn't name the factors of production correctly, which is why he seemingly doesn't even know who pays the tariff. He's not familiar with any of the research on tariff incidents.
And by the way, it is advantageous to make things, as we saw during the pandemic, as we are now.
Wow, whoa! Don't look at manufacturing output. Don't look at manufacturing output. Obviously, Gropert is an old video from fall 2025, right? What is he talking? He's talking about tariffs, but I don't think it's an old video because this video made the rounds on Twitter recently.
Experiencing during the war
2 days ago.
It is beneficial to make things. Would you rather be the country that makes missiles, planes, computer chips, and has all the raw materials? Or would you rather be the country that makes financial services and insurance?
Oh my God, I love financial services and insurance. Oh my God, I love financial services and insurance. So obviously, if you just look at, manufacturing output, that's still been going up. Now, or at least until 2008, industrial production was going up. It is kind of hard to define exactly what manufacturing is, but to the extent there's genuine national security concerns, for one, it's just not really the administration's argument or even Nick's earlier argument. they have much broader concerns for trade deficits, and with countries having advantages in the factors of production, quote unquote, which by that logic, you should probably think that all trade, basically all trade is bad, because the reason countries trade is either because they have some advantage in in the factors of production in their factor endowments that gives them a competitive advantage, or because of economies of scale and like network effects and such, right? So, and that's, trade is really almost always going to fall into one of those two buckets, but regardless, that's not the administration's argument. And then that's not going to get you to 10% tariffs on everything, and probably not even tariffs on a lot of the industries you want to protect, because there are probably reasons to believe why subsidies would just be better.
Insurance. Would you rather be the country that exports debt, financial services, and finished products? Or would you rather be the country that exports computer chips, bullets, steel?
I work in a steel mill, though, and the amount of work from 2024, 2025, and 2024 is just not even comparable. The tariffs have helped that production. So, like, maybe there's actually, there's some arguments you could make, like the fact that a tariff, for example, is gonna increase the cost of goods, so you do incentivize some production in the short term, but there probably is to some degree an offsetting mechanism to the degree that you incentivize companies to like substitute away from steel, right? But like, more importantly though, no one is making the argument that tariffs cannot conceivably help some industry, right? Is that there is a cost first, most directly to like or what a lot of politicians such mention, to like consumers to doing so, but more importantly, there's an opportunity cost to doing so, in the sense that you are taking resources away from other sectors where we might have a competitive advantage, where we might be more productive and such, in order to do those things. And that is just like less efficient. Like, there's just dead weight loss from doing that. You're using domestic labor, domestic resources that, to produce something at a higher cost that could be produced at a lower cost, they're imported at a lower cost. Well, those domestic resources were instead being used for something more productive. Like, you just shouldn't do that.
Fertilizer, grain.
The problem Trump did was it was basically an EO, and it wasn't even. I mean, yeah, but it wasn't even the way he did it wasn't even legal. He did it blanketed on all products. Tariffs on targeted industries is phenomenal and helps a lot. So I think there's mixed research in that. James Sisbank takes all of MAGA's policies to the logical conclusion. No more flip-flopping off every other ally and pretending this is all America first. German steel have undercut domestic steel since the 1980s, which is why they barely exist anymore. Okay, I'm confused what argument you think that contradicts that I made.
Uranium. What if there's a war? What if there's a famine? What if there's a pandemic? Which economy would you rather have? The economy that makes insurance and banks, or the economy that makes tanks and planes and computers and televisions and fertilizer and nickel and titanium and uranium and grain and oil? And a lot of those things we don't necessarily have. The point is, economies are made up of goods as well. And that's why you want tariffs. Because
do not look at the goods share of GDP of any developed country. I understand Nick Fuentes might want to go back on some of those things, but any like developed country is like 80%. It's like 80% of value added is in services.
Economy is stronger when it makes stuff than when it creates services. And right now, and maybe this was for people, but I said it during, this is why I won the debate.
What does stronger mean?
Our economy is 85% services. The productive sector of our economy, agriculture, construction, manufacturing, is 15% of.
That's the only productive sector. That's the only productive sector. And you only see the 80% of the economy being services because, in part, because those sectors, manufacturing and agriculture, have seen major productivity increases, right? Because we get the same or more output, in fact, more output with less labor, and because the income elasticity of the service sector is higher than that, lower of that of the agricultural and manufacturing sector, that you see employment being reallocated to the service sector. Nothing, just giving you some context to what killed the steel industry in the 1980s and why the tariffs are good. But my argument was that they're not good by nature. They're being like an opportunity cost and several other, and obviously the cost to the consumer. And obviously there's some incentive to substitute away from steel, but you didn't provide any argument against that. So nothing you said would make me think it's good. You're just suggesting to me that the steel industry was to some degree helped by tariffs, which is conceivable to me, right? And there's research to some degree to that effect. Like, for example, the Lydia Cox study in 2023, which found, like, I think a increase of 1,000 steel mill jobs versus negative 80,000 jobs in downstream industries that rely on steel for their inputs, right? So, like, the net effect there is like negative 79,000 jobs, or it might be net negative like 74,000. It might have been 75,000 was the net positive, or was the negative in the downstream, and then the net would be negative 74,000.
All of our economic activity, which means that pound for pound, the Chinese economy is already bigger than ours, if you're measuring it in terms of actually making things. Our economy is 85% services. In Germany, their productive sector is 25%. In China, I don't know what the numbers are now, but I think it's like 60%. Okay, so they have a smaller economy, but most of it is manufacturing, construction, and agriculture, meaning food, houses.
What was that, Metro? My grandfather fell into depression because they took his job in manufacturing. So, are you being ironic right now? I don't. For one, I think, like, is there such a thing as, like, you know, communities being hollowed out, you know, yada, 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 you know, people being negatively affected, concentrated cost of offshore, like conceivably, like, yeah, I think that is a thing. You know, at least some research to that effect. Now, I think it is also not clear that trade was necessarily the primary driver of many of those things, because I think this productivity increases in the manufacturing sector also played a big role in that, right? Like, there's been a pretty steady downward trend in the manufacturing share of GDP and manufacturing jobs. This is share of employment, and this is something you see across countries. It doesn't seem to vary that much based on, like, how globalist the country is and such. And you know, even like the corrections to, like, Arthur Dorn Hansen's work, if you look at it, doesn't actually seem like things that would be sort of related to falling into depression. I don't think depression measured specifically in this, like, is actually that affected by traded the manufacturing stuff. Where is, if I go to, I didn't notice you were on Kick 2. Now I can use my emotes. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm everywhere. How can you have no hate speech in your chat while also watching Fuentes? Well, well, welcome, Jonathan Swift. But, you know, I just don't, I'm not very strict about my chat or whatever and such, but it's not against Twitch TOS to watch the Quintet so long as he isn't saying insane things. And it's just as long as I'm epically owning and shitting on the ideas, then it's fine. It was obviously the primary driver. Why would a company operate here with much high? So do you think my claim was there aren't incentives for companies to offshore? Right? Because that was not my claim. So I understand why a company might not prefer to operate here if there are higher laboring and operating costs. Now, obviously, technically, there are reasons on the margin to do that. Like, there is potentially a quality effect of operating here or whatever, right? So, but, like, I understand. Certainly, you must know that I understand. Why do you like Fuentes? I don't like Fuentes. I'm very much against Fuentes. You must know that I understand that there is a incentive for companies to offshore or whatever, to outsource, right? I understand that effect is there, but it's not clear to me that's the primary driver. So the reasons for thinking that are, one, there's just been a pretty steady, for one, like, manufacturing output went up until like 2008, right? Industrial production was going up until 2008. I think manufacturing value added, what's the primary driver? So I think it's productivity effects in sectors and the spillovers between them, and the income elasticity of demand between the different sectors. So because spending at the sector levels for agricultural labor, for agricultural, manufacturing, and service sectors are all, like, relatively inelastic. You don't, essentially, as countries get more productive, as manufacturing gets more productive, you see more and more labor being allocated towards the sector with the highest elasticity, or lowest, sorry. I keep saying highest, lowest elasticity, price elasticity of demand, which is the the service sector, if you just look at like the manufacturing, the amount of money, or the percentage of income that people spend on manufacturing goods, it's like it's been declining. It's been declining with real income for quite a while. And if you just look by quintile, it's like a lot higher at the top quintile, or sorry, a lot lower at the top quintile of income than it is at the bottom. You can see spending on goods as a share of total consumption in the U.S. by consumption quintile. Quintile 1, poorest households, a lot higher than it is at quintile 5, the richest households. And it's all been steady downward trend. I think there's some other useful graphs in here. I mean, you can see this is just showing that across countries, it's a pretty consistent trend. There are stronger statistical tests you can do as well. That dude is just a pussy. Literally a video about tariffs. How the fuck is that hate speech? Get over yourself. I never said it was hate speech. But obviously Fuentes is known for doing things that at least Twitch would consider hate speech, okay? It's free market capitalism being out of control.
Our economy is retail, insurance, banking, healthcare, and that's great, but we need the other stuff too. We need to make our own tanks, missiles, bullets. We need to make our own planes. We need to make our own stuff in the event of a war, in the event of a famine, and because we want to control those supply chains. So that we're not bringing them into ports, we're not having our ships attacked, they wouldn't be affected in a war. So, you know, you think you're smart, but you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, Nick Fuentes definitely demonstrated he is an incredibly smart person there. I thought this has a chart of it, but it might not. When a trend line fitted a manufacturing employment data from 1960 to 1980s projected out 30 years, it precisely predicts the share of manufacturing employment in 2010 without knowing about China's rise in North American Free Trade Agreement or the formation of the World Trade Organization. A forecaster in 1980 would have been able to accurately predict the number of workers employed in manufacturing in 2010 without almost any error. Why don't you like the nationalism aspect of domestic manufacturing? I just don't like what positives what I see there. I think I want people's lives to be better. I don't understand what intrinsically about something quote unquote being like produced here makes our lives better. I think our lives get better in large part because because people have higher real incomes and because overall there's just more output per person. And I think trade does those things. You don't want to produce things here. I don't see why we should incentivize producing certain things here over like having work in the service sector and such. I don't see intrinsically why that matters. Why would you want to import shit made by little Vietnamese children? Because I love the Vietnamese children so much and I want them to have jobs. And I don't want them to die. That's why. Many communities in West Virginia turn to opioids because of manufacturing decline. So I don't think there's like that strong of evidence for that. Like that's good. I think that's a thing that can happen, to be clear. And like, I don't think there's zero evidence for that. But I was looking for that one, not this. I'm hearing music and I don't know where it's from. What am I hearing? Oh wait, is it Overwatch? Oh, it's probably Overwatch. For that one, I want this as well, but it's not what I was looking for. This has some work related to, there's a paper that applies some corrections to the Arthur Dorn Hansen study. And in fairness, there's like studies beyond this one, okay, that use, I think, better methods, even one including David Arthur in it, I think, that uses like firm level employment data and not the sort of shift share design that they do here or whatever. But you don't see things like the effect on transfer payments, for example, to certain communities being that big. I don't think they measure drug use directly, but the coefficient for college-educated non-manufacturing share is positive and statistically significant. The negative effects on wages become statistically indistinguishable from zero, except for non-college-educated men. There's still a negative effect on manufacturing employment. The effect on manufacturing wages is now positive and statistically significant. Some increase in government transfers as a result, but the amounts were tiny, $34 per capita over 2 decades for every $1,000 increase in imports per worker. Finally, table 7. The statistically significant decrease in incomes shrink and become statistically insignificant. That's crazy, literally making an argument for child slaves in other countries so you can have cheaper goods here. Yeah, that's my argument. That's my argument. True. So I think like there are like demonstrated benefits, at least to some extent, from fucking like quote unquote sweatshops or whatever in certain countries. I think it probably does lead to some amount of economic growth for them. I think it probably does lead, does present a better alternative than not having those things from many of those countries, right? Like the alternative to a lot of children working at sweatshops is unfortunately just a lot of those children like working on family farms and stuff, and like that's not good either. It's like you might not feel as bad because like you're not buying the products from their farm, but it's not actually better for them. But regardless of that, I think at least made arguments, of why free trade might be good that aren't dependent on cheaper, merely having cheaper goods here. Would you say the same thing about the arguments for colonialism, that Western countries going to underdeveloped countries is actually better for them in the long term? So I don't think that's been demonstrated to the same degree, right? So I think there's a factual difference there between, I think there is just like better evidence that sweatshops do have positive effects. And then I think there's a reason for presuming the opposite, right? So in like a colonial system, even if there was, at least a face-saving reason of like, oh, the white man's burden and like we're really helping this country out or whatever, a lot of times explicitly the colonizing mother country was trying to exploit the other country, right? They were trying to be mercantilist and export more than they import and get a bunch of resources from them, right? In a more market-based system, I think there's a reason for having an opposite presumption, which is that people are engaging in the trade because it ex ante benefits them. I pay a little more for goods if my grandfather... Okay, Metro, this doesn't strike me as it. Metro, you're smarter than this. You're smarter than this, buddy. You're smarter than this, buddy. Yeah, you might do that. But that's not the revealed preferences of everyone overall. And you're ignoring the opportunity cost. It just seems like you're saying the concentrated losses outweigh the diffuse benefits. And I don't think there's strong evidence for that. This is a good paper as well. It's pretty short. I think this might have the graph I was thinking of. But this makes a lot of in a pretty short paper, makes a lot of the arguments that I make. Like you can see, there's a pretty steady declining share. Why do manufacturing employment receive so much attention? Protections often cite to quality manufacturing jobs, relative to service sector jobs, the need for strong domestic manufacturing capacity, and resilience to security concerns. But these are either misplaced or will be aggravated, not ameliorated by the current trade war. Supporters of protections often tell to quality manufacturing jobs, but the average wage of a manufacturing job has been lower than the average. So this, I think, is dependent a bit on how you measure it. I think if you look at the BLS data for 2024, this is true, but for 2025, it's not true. I don't know exactly. I don't know. There's probably a footnote somewhere in that, but manufacturing jobs are often more dangerous and less pleasant than services jobs. And as the current administration succeeds in transferring low-wage, low-value manufacturing jobs to other countries to the U.S., the average manufacturing wage will decrease. It's just a principled stance, and it's a Marxian idea. What? Why do argue against Marx in this way? So I'm not a socialist, and I'm not a Marxist, but I don't know. Which, by the way, like, I'm always, to some degree, hesitant of bisexual lighting. Let's go. It's true and okay. Welcome. Obviously, I think you understand that why I might be hesitant for someone with the name Groiper to do this or whatever. But like, if you want to talk about it, Exponents want Discord in a chat. Like, you can come on and you can talk about it. You just have to obviously, I think you might recognize that there's a Twitch TOS that you have to adhere to. I'm not a socialist or Marxist, but I do have bisexual lighting. I think I might let you guys. I just met Troy Kroiper yesterday. Oh boy, like in VC, they are interesting. Or just in your chat. I think I can set it up so you guys can control my lights, by the way, but I don't know if if people would do that in a non-annoying way. I think the only people who would do that would be people who are like, would want to make it a fucking strobe. Which I could set limits on how often you could do it and what you control. I changed it to do trans lighting. I don't know if that would look good because white kind of messes it up. Okay, well, or I can't change it. Your place looks super nice. This is your new apartment? No, this is still just my room. I feel like last time you were here, and okay, it was the same, it was basically the same setup. I just changed which wall stuff was on, and I moved my desk a little bit. So now, previously, the shrimp was on, sort of flatly placed on the wall right behind me. And the TV was on this wall. But I wanted people to see more of my nice sound panel things. So I put that there. And I switched my camera over and stuff. Unfortunately, Joe Biden is covered by the chat and my mic stand now. Unfortunately, but there's not much I can do about that just because my door is like right there, and it'd be the way I have my microphone set up, it'd be hard to, it's attached to a different table and I have to put it right in front of my door and it'd just be really inconvenient. But I could get a low profile mic stand maybe. But I can live with Biden being covered a little bit. A big part of the reason people in the Rust Belt believe Trump was fighting against the elites is because they thought he was the only one speaking, only one in decades speaking for their pain. So I think there was a certain perception of that. Now, I'm not like super bought in to the idea that like he was like the only one doing that or whatever. I think there's been, maybe this only started because of Trump or whatever, but like there's obviously quite a bit of rhetoric that Democrats and even not especially populist Democrats do with regards to like appealing to those people, right? Biden talked a lot about manufacturing jobs and he talked about how the Rust Belt was left behind. Gretchen Whitmer, kind of embarrassingly supported Trump's tariffs, but that obviously was only relatively recently. So I don't know how much people were doing it before necessarily. But I think a lot of even relatively centrist type Democrats speak to that fear. So there's that. But like, what does that prove? But like you, Metro, I think you call yourself a neoliberal Metro, maybe not, or like center right, something. You recognize all the time that like there's a lot of people who feel like their needs in healthcare aren't being addressed, and that's why they support a single payer system. But like, I just don't think that proves anything. And like, I think you would ever argue issues with someone saying something analogous to this, where they're like, well, I would, you know, give up a little bit of medical innovation in order to have single payer healthcare. Right? I think you would have issues with that type of like argument and such. Like, it seems like you understand anything. So like, I'd be willing to give up a little bit of economic growth for like a little bit better quality of life now, right? Which I think is kind of basically almost exactly what this argument is, actually. Because if you think that you know, trade increases growth, then you know, probably you should think that in the long run, whatever your grandpa is going through, it's worth it. It's worth it. Watch Bill Clinton boo Channel Net during campaign stuff in West Virginia. What did he do? Is this supporters of Democrat Bernie Sanders, Republican candidate Donald Trump gathered outside a school in Logan, in the southern part of the state, clears book Sunday. Policies have been championed by people like Miss Clinton, have all but devastated our fair town. Honestly, enough is enough. We were sent a best in the campaign, however, we again state they are not welcome on our city property. Thought elites didn't listen to them because they were the ones that felt the concentrated losses with virtually no exit plan. I mean, okay, but I don't think that's how. Didn't I agree with that? I feel like it's not responsive to anything I said. I feel like I said, yeah, I recognize there were at least a number of people who had that perception, but I'm not convinced Trump was the only one who did the type of rhetoric. I think he like probably did it more than other people and probably made it more popular in its aftermath. But like, even like I said, even a lot of centrist Democrats do this type of messaging. Plus, I just don't think that makes their perception true. I don't think Hillary would come here to make you promises that we can't keep. He said, "We're not leaving West Virginia behind. We got to invest in this place. I know the price you have paid." They wanted to be lied to, of course. Yeah. What do you think of the study King of the Coast posted showing billionaire influence in Citizens United is a net positive on politics? I think I might. Oh my god, how is Edge this shitty, bro? I don't get it. I don't get it. It has to be. I feel like it might be related to one of the programs I have set up when I stream, because it doesn't do it when I'm not streaming. Wait, what's going on here? Kicked us out of the event after we paid hundreds of dollars for tickets. We were extremely respectful and followed order rules. The mere mention of Destiny caused us to be instantly removed. What the fuck? Okay. That's interesting.
Wait, I got a question. What? Is it being right here?
Did you post it recently, or was it the It might have been one I've seen before. The like state level effects or whatever. The EVP of College Gems is a guy that wears I always forget how to pronounce it. The Palestinian scarf thing. Kaifa, whatever. Yeah. Notably, by the way, we'll mention Mr. Toy Groiper shitting on me, okay, that I offered to talk to. But doesn't seem to want to talk. Doesn't seem to want to talk. Interesting. Okay. What do we want to do? What do we want to do? Do I want to do a little bit of more perfect union slop? We demand slop. West Virginia's booed because Hillary specifically stated my policies would be put a ton of coal miners and coal companies out of business. Wasn't the article about her saying she needs to invest in them? Or are you just saying that's like why West Virginian voters felt that way? But like, you know, I think coal is like, obviously there are just probably a lot of externalities from coal that like probably just kind of outweigh any of the concerns with you know, with the people whose jobs are being lost. Probably that's the case. Probably. I just don't understand. It seems like you're so willing to kind of like, in cases where, oh, what the hell? There's sort of like creative destruction or, you know, some type of churn, some type of job loss, something from the free market. It just seems like you're so like willing to like be like, yeah, obviously the benefits are like worth the cost. And in many cases, probably most cases, like I agree with you on that, right? But then, but it just seems like, I don't know, for some reason, when it comes to, you know, trade or maybe coal to a lesser extent, you just are like, well, clearly, you know, we shouldn't do that or whatever. Hello all. Oh, what's up, Big Jerry? Welcome back. Send all of the billionaire oligarch robber parents, fascists, and maggots and rightoids to Mars forever. Well, Elon Musk walks in. Maybe he'll get there, guys. Okay. I don't know exactly what this is. I think it's gonna piss me off though.
For me to find really rich people in Jackson. Look for really, really nice houses.
This is Jackson Hole, Wyoming, the last of the Old West, and also the wealthiest county.
Well, that's why you change messaging, like Tim Walz expertly did in his More Perfect Union video, where he talked about how they changed the renewable energy would create jobs. And I think that was like, to be clear, you know, I think there are effective ways to message on policies that are not what I was doing, which is just like, you know, there's creative destruction. Okay, the benefits, the diffuse benefits outweigh the concentrated losses, right? And I think there's a perception that people have that's understandable, but like, I just don't think that makes their perception true or like anything like that. I just don't understand what Metro's on about.
Per capita in America.
Everybody wants.
And also, by the way, in a very autistic sense, you can't intentionally target people's livelihood and expect them not to get booed. Okay, but this is a meaningless statement. I just don't get what I've said at all that like this even like contradicts or whatever. Like, I just think probably with coal, the benefits from getting rid of a lot of it outweigh the losses, okay? Even if the losses are concentrated. I think probably the benefits are maybe somewhat concentrated too, just because air pollution might be, I don't know how big a deal it is specifically locally, but I would imagine locally that can be a non-zero concern for places near coal plants. But regardless, like, I just don't, like, yes, I understand if you say something as a politician, people are going to boo you, okay? If you say that I support free trade, even though I think you guys will lose your jobs, okay, people are going to boo you, but I don't actually care about that right now. I just care about, like, I feel like the silly statements you've made about just like, oh, I would pay more for goods if my grandpa got a better life. Good goy, you are. True. you're gonna do stuff like this, you need a thorough wage insurance plan. And I like support that. I support those, I think, more than you. I think I support a broader social safety net than you do, right?
Wants that shot at you of Tetons, and so look at the highest bidder.
Here, the billionaires can be hard to pick out in a crowd.
Do you think you've met any while you're here?
Probably. I don't know.
They kind of blend in?
Yeah, I would guess so.
But even if you can't always see them, the impact of their wealth is impossible to ignore. That's because
Sorry, I was gonna say also, technically, in a very autistic sense, I understand this is in reference to coal or whatever we say intentionally target people's livelihood, but you can't actually determine for certain that the per capita income of local areas is going to be negatively affected, even if there's some amount of offshoring or whatever, because they don't, because some of the gains from that are captured by the local community itself, right? And now, probably in 99% of cases, like that's not going to be the case, okay? At least not within a human lifespan. But like, you could like conceptually like imagine like some amount of offshoring happening, but because of that creative destruction, right? Because of the productivity effects of that, like some amazing new technology is made, and that actually increases the per capita income of everyone enough such that the per capita income of the local community is actually higher relative to that counterfactual, right? Like, but regardless.
Jackson Hole isn't just the richest place in the country.
Not if I would pass less legislation than Bernie Sanders and never win an election. I don't think I would ever win an election. I think that part is true.
It's also the most unequal.
Teton County is just for rich people now.
How bad is that housing crisis right now?
It may be one of the worst.
Well, actually, if it's just for rich people, technically, it probably wouldn't be regardless. I understand the sentiment it's just expressing, but like you literally mechanically would not expect much inequality if it was just for you or whatever.
Just for rich people now.
How bad is that housing crisis right now?
It may be one of the worst in the country.
For your average person outside of Jackson, this sounds bonkers.
So I spent a week here.
Here we go.
Looking for billionaires.
Are you a billionaire? Are you a billionaire?
Trying to blend in. To understand how this small mountain town became the wealthiest in the country. What that's meant for the people who keep it running. And what, if anything, it means for the rest of the country.
All the people that have all the power, they're coming here to just get even more.
Our story doesn't start in Jackson Hole. It starts here, on the other side of the mountains, in Idaho.
These are the people who make that town run. He's been involved in a lot of those hotels and a lot of that construction, and now he's living in Driggs.
Diana and Fernando moved from Mexico to Jackson Hole in 2002, where they raised their son Brandon for 14 years. Fernando found work in construction, building mansions for the rich, while Diana was a housekeeper and a nanny.
I know, sounds like they're job creators. That's what I'm hearing already.
I want to live in this place because it's beautiful and it's very clean and there are open areas for growing family. But I think, especially right now, everything is very expensive.
In the last few years, they've been priced out of Jackson. First to Victor, Idaho, then to Driggs.
Next year, probably we move to Titonia. Next time, until they kick it out.
But their story isn't unique. Almost half of the people who work in Jackson are forced to commute from outside of Teton County.
So we're based out of Rigby, Idaho, but we drive back and forth every day for work. How long's the drive? About an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, one way.
So there might be... God, I hate more for union just because they always... I mean, you guys know that. You guys know the drill, I'm assuming, the method, okay? But like because of all like the street interview type things that they do, a lot of it is just like not very specific claims. But like I would imagine, I don't know for certain how I would get data on this, but in rural communities, you probably do see relatively long commutes to begin with. Now, maybe it's like more than average here or whatever. And I can see the biggest effect, like some inequality like this would have, probably would be on housing prices. Now, I would guess that a lot of that is because the supply of housing is constrained, and if it wasn't constrained, you probably would not see as big of an effect on housing prices. I could see there being some effect, at least very locally, if you get cases where essentially the new housing development just makes the area so much more desirable to live because it's some super awesome billionaire epic home that it like increases the value of homes around it, right? Like that's conceivable to me. But beyond a pretty local area, if the supply of housing wasn't constrained, you probably would not have that. It probably would not be that big of an effect from inequality, even if all the billionaires were buying a lot of some homes there.
Prices in Jackson are so high that our film crew had to stay in a log cabin in Victor forced to take the daily commute with the rest of the workforce over an 8,000-foot mountain pass. For workers who make this commute year-round, things can get pretty dicey.
A landslide wiped out a crucial state highway. Officials calling it a catastrophic failure.
This is the problem of living in rural areas. We fix this by just forcing everyone to live in cities, bro.
The first time I drove to Jackson, there was a terrible snowing. I was very scared, and I can see anything.
But on a clear day, when you reach the top, this is your view. Jackson Hole, with its towering Tetons and its sprawling mansions. Here, the top 1% make an average of $35 million, 221 times more than the 99%. So, how did that happen?
Oh my God.
Why did this valley, of all places, attract so much wealth?
There's always been wealthy people, but they very much wanted to be part of the culture that existed here.
Nikki Gill is a fifth-generation rancher in Jackson Hole.
Oh, now they're talking to a farmer. They're talking to a farmer. Okay. Oh no, no. How much in government handouts do you think she gets? Okay, fifth generation, bro. I understand that it's a farmer, so it's a little weird, but like by net worth, she might even be like a fucking millionaire. She might even be a fucking millionaire, bro. Fifth generation rancher. Gotta be a big ranch. Not gonna lie, more for union is masterful art, crafting a narrative. I agree on arcade. I think it's bad. And having good implied rhetoric. Now these people can pass legislation and win elections. I just don't like most things about it. Obviously some of the policy I don't like, but like the whole thing they do all the time with the narratives, and they use data sometimes, but usually it's not that great, where they can talk to people on the streets. And I think especially that if you look at the interaction that their CEO or one of the executives at Morphe Union had with Andy Masley, the fact that they can use the fact that they just like talk to people in the street and like got their opinions on stuff or whatever, they can use that as like cover for like claims they make, because they can just be like, well, you know, that might have been implied by the interview we had on the street, but we were just getting their feelings, we were just getting their thoughts, we didn't actually make any of the claims. I hate it. I think it's horrible.
Jackson was predominantly a ranching community. There were 80 something ranches. My great grandfather, Robert Bruce Porter, started the Jackson Hole Hereford Ranch in 1928.
But while Nikki's family was building a working cattle ranch, the wealthiest family in the country was quietly pursuing their own plans for the valley. The Rockefellers had built the most powerful monopoly in the US, making them the world's first billionaires, and also earning them a reputation as ruthless robber barons. So they got to work repairing that reputation, and Jackson Hole became one of their most ambitious projects. They started quietly buying up land in and around the valley, and eventually donated more than 35,000 acres to the federal government, resulting in the creation of Grand Teton National Park.
No one wants to be lied to. They want their concerns to be accounted for. This is, okay. You understand, I don't know if Najafan is still here, but I imagine when Najafan said that, he didn't literally mean they have a desire to be lied to, but he meant they like the rhetoric of someone who says, I'm going to bring all the manufacturing back. I want to make everything great again. You know, that type of stuff. This is a turn of phrase that is another classic elite maneuver to dismiss their concerns at a working class. I just don't see how you really got that from what they said, bro. I think you're smart enough to understand what he meant, and I don't see the case for saying that that's not kind of broadly true. Do you think Democrats will try to recapture their old strat of that got them elected, basically adopting strong union policy and targeting making more money instead of all the culture war, foreign policy, yada yada? I mean, to some extent I might view some of the stuff got them elected, but I think broadly you'll see Democrats try to be more like populist, and especially like economically populist. So I don't actually know how much union endorsements matter specifically anymore, and they might be skeptical of that just because they, you know, some of the other unions kind of burned them during the 2024 election. But I think they have broadly had pro-union rhetoric and stuff for a while now. I think you're probably going to see them play more into that type of stuff.
But that didn't just preserve this area's pristine nature in amber. It also made Jackson Hole an extremely desirable destination for the super rich.
Jackson Hole is a really comfortable place to live.
Yes, tariffs seem to be an imperfect mechanism for bringing manufacturing back. That was not almost anywhere close to Trump's rhetoric. right? Like I think like I think his went like well beyond an imperfect mechanism to bring manufacturing back, and I think that like clearly there's just like more entailed. I don't think you're dumb enough to not understand this stuff. I don't know what we're doing. The text that are you talking James Tallarico guy reminds me of old Democrats kind of targeting the I mean I think that's the populist idea is that you're going to see them more likely to play into. I bet Tallarico's obviously from Texas. There's going to be you're not going to see that exact style replicated elsewhere just because it's not going to work as well in areas outside of Texas. But yeah, good idea of America and unions are good and work unions in good working conditions, and we are just simple guy narratives. Thanks for listening. Listening to unions, not at all moving forwards. Teamsters and yeah, I said that. I feel like you know, obviously they kind of got burned by some of the union stuff during the 2024 election. But I feel like I said I don't know if you hear that. You know, I don't know specifically if like union endorsements matter to them as much anymore or whatever. But I think you're more likely to see them play into the rhetoric about it, at least about unions, and I think they've had broadly pro-union policy. Especially even Biden, I was pretty pro-union. I mean, you can say the rail worker strike or whatever, but you know. This also goes into another fun paradox. Liberals simultaneously want to argue that right-wingers only win due to culture war slop, but they also paint right-wing culture war issues as absurdities that no one in their right minds care about / believe. So I don't think that there's the people will say, I mean, there's some people, I guess, who argue that it was primarily culture war stuff, but immigration is obviously both cultural and economic. So like there were some cultural concerns there or whatever, but I don't think there's like that much of a tension between someone saying, I think, you know, right wingers win on like culture war issues. But these issues ultimately are just like not big deals, right? Like, I don't think there's a tension between saying like, you think Republicans won because Democrats did poorly, like they looked bad on like trans women in sports, right? Like that's an issue where they just didn't have good messaging, but that you just don't personally think, or that if people are fully informed, they wouldn't, people generally wouldn't think that it is actually a big deal, right? I don't really think there's that much of a tension. She posted something like, well, the evidence is that in actually enacting those policies gets zero Dem support. Who are we talking about? Kamala Harris? Oh, yeah, Harris.
It does help if you have a lot of money.
By the late 60s, Jackson had a world-class ski resort, attracting everyone from ski bums to billionaires. Then, in the 80s and 90s, America got a whole lot richer at the top. And if you had a fortune to protect, Wyoming was hard.
This video is stuttering for you. Why is it stuttering?
80s and 90s, America got a whole lot richer at the top. And if you had a fortune to protect, Wyoming was hard to beat. No income tax, no wealth tax, no worries.
Oh my God, so big.
Remember it starting to change?
I want to say early 2000s is probably when we saw
Well, non-fun is ableist. True.
some of the biggest changes.
More hotels,
Making fun of a video stuttering.
more rich people moving in.
Count the number of private jets at the airport kind of tells the story too.
In just a few decades, the per capita income of Teton County went from a little higher than average to the highest in the nation. Higher than Manhattan or Miami.
Implies that a majority of the U.S. population is insane / not mentally fit to self-govern. I don't think that's the case. And also, I don't get this. Don't you complain all the time about like the median voter being too dumb and stuff, right? I feel like I could be misremembering some things, but I feel like I've like heard you make plenty of those statements before. I feel like you're like you made statements about like money in politics and stuff, like to that degree, right? Like I think that you have expressed views that to a similar degree imply that like the median voter or whatever is like not well informed on certain issues. But I don't think it means that they're insane or like not mentally fit to self-govern. I think usually people say they're misinformed because of depending on the exact version you go with, because either like the evil billionaires are like pumping a bunch of money into like the culture war issues and they're putting Fox News in front of everyone, or because like social media has just let everyone blow these issues up to an insane degree, right? Like that's like some combination of those things.
But if this place has so much wealth, where are all the rich people?
Where can I find me a billionaire around these parts?
We came out here trying to find
Wow.
a rich person,
Cinema.
a billionaire. Do you see him in town?
I don't know that I'd know the difference between him or somebody else, you know?
Unlike Miami or Manhattan, Jackson...
Look at all the negative social effects of inequality, guys. The negative degrading social effect.
isn't the kind of place where wealth puts on a show. Here, the super rich blend in, wearing Wranglers and cowboy.
Yes, they want to classify such motives as exogenous.
Hats.
Okay, but then I don't think that they're really implying that.
Are you a billionaire?
No.
Are you a billionaire?
Right? No, I'm not a billionaire for sure. No.
You're not?
No, I'm not. No,
You're sure?
Yeah, for sure.
Are you a billionaire?
Not a billionaire.
Damn.
There's another reason the wealthiest residents may be hard to find. They don't actually live here, at least not for most of the year.
They just buy the house, but they just stay for vacations, for winter or summer.
Just long enough to reap the tax benefits.
Are you a billionaire? Okay.
But even if you can't always see them, the impact of their wealth is hard to miss.
All right, let's see it. Let's see it. I hope they compare to a plausible counterfactual, guys.
A house for like $800,000, and now the house is over $3 million.
Whoa.
Chambers moved to Jackson in 2010, just as property.
Now the house is over
Hard to miss.
We got a house for like $800,000.
Now, I understand there are broader concerns with housing affordability in such a way, and wherever. And maybe this girl is super empathetic and just cares about other people. Okay, fine, whatever. But like, if you say we got a house, I'm assuming that you own the house or at least have a mortgage on the house. It probably benefits you that you got like a fucking 200% return on it.
The house is over $3 million.
Jessica Chambers moved to Jackson in 2010, just as property values were starting to take off.
Every year it gets worse by a larger magnitude than the year before.
In these years, Jackson increased the rents very...
As prices rose, investors saw a chance to cash in, buying rental properties, remodeling them, and selling them to customers with deeper pockets. But that meant evicting longtime tenants, like Diana and Fernando.
They sold to that rich person. I expect they increase the rent, but I never expect they kick out everybody.
By 2020, the housing crisis hit an...
So like I said, I can imagine in like pretty local areas, I don't know how big the town is or whatever, there can be effects. It's conceivable to me that like new development would come in or remodeling would come in. It would increase property values overall because it makes the area overall like more desirable, right? So I can imagine that effect being there. Now I think probably if the supply of housing is not that constrained, you just see offsetting mechanisms from increased housing supply in those cases, and you would probably expect that. You would expect investors to respond not just by remodeling places, but also by building new places, which is going to have some downward effect on the price of housing. But to the extent that like there is some housing affordability effect, that might. I can obviously I think that is bad for people who live there and are arguably displaced or whatever. But it's not actually clear to be that overall the like county is worse off compared to the counterfactual if they have a bunch of new, more expensive properties for tax revenue, right? If they have presumably a bunch of goods and services and a bunch of more productive people there, yada, yada, yada. Gentrification is kind of bitch. Yeah, it does clean the area and lower crime and increase spending. Yes, people who own housing can sell it and move and get good money. But it does also suck because if you rented an area before, you're most likely getting pushed out of the area. If you can't keep up... If you can't keep up with your home value and don't want to leave, you will still be forced to. And if you are kids that grew up in the area, you'll be poorer than your family. Sure, it's good and bad. It's complicated. I mean it sincerely. There's nothing better for conservative cause than liberal mockery of conservative cultural grievances. Okay.
I expect they increase the rent, but I never expect they kick out everybody.
By 2020, the housing crisis hit an inflection point.
What we might have seen in 15 years happened in 2.
Wait, this is total...
The housing crisis hit an inflection.
Oh, well, I guess it's total sales in billions of dollars. So that could reflect prices, but some of that might reflect volume. I don't actually think of that sort of time period it would reflect volume, but... When they say total sales and have the bar graphs here, I thought it was just the number of houses being sold. And that's not going to be correlated with higher prices. That could very well be correlated with lower prices.
What we might have seen in 15 years happened in 2, when everybody was homebound and realized they could work virtually. Or just...
I wonder if they have zoning laws to prevent mass housing from being built that's affordable. Yeah, I wouldn't know. Yeah, I wish more Perfect Union would talk about that, but they're probably not gonna.
get out of the city. They had cash. They came in and just paid cash for homes.
This neighborhood cost a pretty penny. Each one of these houses, maybe $10-20 million.
One bedroom, I think, is running $3,000 to $5,000.
For your average person outside of Jackson, this sounds bonkers.
It's why in Jackson, there's a saying.
But like, bro, like, look at this place, bro. Look at this place. It might be like zoned for fucking protected farmland. I bet there's like some protected farmland stuff. Like, I have no clue. Oh, right, edges being fucked up. This is not going to be. This is not going to be what's Google Gemini say? Development is strictly regulated to preserve wildlife habitats. That makes sense. Controlled spawn and incentivize workforce housing. This is like pretty old. I want us to build those Thailand mass condos, behays in downtowns and tiny homes. Everyone here should live in shipping container homes. That's true. On top of businesses and cottage home designs.
Either you own a few homes or you work a few jobs.
I was at a doctor's appointment yesterday talking to my nurse, and she said she has 3 jobs. And I mean, that's pretty crazy. You know, nurses make a lot of money. And for her to say that kind of blew my mind.
Brandon is.
Do nurses make that much money in rural America? Do they? Do they? Do they? Isn't it? I feel like it's a commonly discussed thing. I could be wrong. A common complaint that nurses don't make that much money. The liberal modal argumentation goes something like this: highlighting someone's hyperbolic. Why are we talking about this? Hyperbolic description of the situation to make their grievance seem ridiculous, as if they don't have the grievance based solely on the principle of the matter. What do you think I'm going to say? I'm going to say the same thing I've said to like 100 different things. Obviously, I think there are some liberals that do this in some cases and such. But I think more broadly, there's some pattern of pointing out, or at least the liberal argument is, whether or not you agree with this, that like a lot of the issues in their views are just like fake issues insofar as they are like greatly exaggerated. The like severity of them and the extent to which they happen are just like greatly exaggerated issues, and therefore when you're doing like a cost benefit analysis of who you should vote for or something, you should just not be weighing those super heavily. The principle of the matter, like birthright-citizenship is tied into our constitution. Well, in fairness, Metro doesn't like support Trump, but you know,
is able to live in town for now by working 2 jobs, and because he lives in employee housing, a rare luxury in Jackson Hole.
They're supposed to build affordable houses for employees, but isn't it? They are very expensive.
And the problem keeps getting worse. The percentage of workers forced to commute.
Why is the video stuttering?
From out of town has gone up year over year.
With the town growing, there's just nobody to work these jobs because there's nowhere for people to live.
So why is it so hard?
Wow, sounds like the billionaires must be really good job creators if there's so many jobs. There's not enough people to work them. I'm being hyperbolic. Okay, I understand what they're saying. All right. I dropped my fucking pen cap. Fuck.
Hard to build affordable housing in Jackson Hole. Well, for starters, thanks to the Rockefellers' generous gift, 97% of the land is public, meaning it can't be developed. On top of that, you have another 1.5%
interesting
percent of the pie going to something called conservation.
Do you think that now maybe they will, but do you think that they want some of that land to be able to be developed, or do you think they're just going to say, nah, we should keep all the public wildlife land there? It's only the billionaires that are a problem. Okay, it's only the fact that people are moving there.
Easements.
Land conservation.
Liberals can actually thank Trump because he gave Republicans everything they ever wanted. Full control of all branches of government, surrounded by a bunch of yes men, and all the fucking money money, control, and power they would want. And they made America so fucking bad so quickly. True.
Easements. Very, very wealthy people purchase homes that are on large lots, and they could develop like a $10 million home on this property. Well, they say like, we're not going to do that. We'll just build a $2 million home. And then we get a tax write-off for all of the stuff that we could have built, but we didn't. And then that land gets locked away from ever being developed.
Which leaves less than 1.5%.
do that. We'll just build on large
conservation easements.
land.
Oh, okay.
Very, very
Yeah.
see people purchase homes that are.
But I just think that's like a dumb policy. And like, I think, from my understanding, I think Matt Glacius wrote about this relatively recently. Like Maine has this. I think that's like a dumb policy. And it seems like a lot of rural America kind of has this like dumb policy of preserving undeveloped land, and you get like a write-off for the land you didn't use, even if it's probably not a good idea to do that. Like what,
on
like
large lots.
you know.
And they could develop like a $10 million home on this property. Well, they say like, we're not going to do that. We'll just build a $2 million home. And then we get a tax write-off for all of the stuff that we could have built, but we didn't. And then that land gets locked away from ever being developed.
Which leaves less than 1.5% of land available for development. But even on that remaining slice of land, trying to build affordable housing is an uphill battle.
We've been in a housing crisis for decades. And you would think in a crisis, we would move quickly to solve the problem. And I don't think we've done a great job of that.
In 2020, Nikki's family introduced Northern South Park, a plan to convert over 200 acres of their ranch land into a mixture of market-rate homes and dense affordable housing. If it went through as planned...
I don't know, more perfect union. Isn't this gentrification? Isn't this just going to increase the desirability of the area and make it more expensive, don't you think?
Northern South Park would be the largest housing project in Teton County history. But if you go to Northern South Park right now, you won't find much.
We're 6 years into that project, and we're still years out from a home being constructed within that development.
We actually have some market housing finally happening, but on this other side, where the more dense housing is going to take place, it's still greenfield.
Greg Epstein was on Teton County Commission when Northern South Park was first proposed.
Greg who?
And he was on the inside as the process got slowed down again and again.
People in Teton County have been very...
I'm surprised. They're going after the boomers at the local town meetings. Yeah, it was too harsh and more for union guys. They've come around.
The process got slowed down again and again.
People in Teton County have been very apprehensive to develop too quickly, or at all for that matter.
It turns out this conversation isn't new. For 50 years, the community has repeatedly considered and rejected any attempt to build housing at Northern South Park. So, what?
There's still time, though, for them to say, well, I think the local people are right. It's just the billionaires that are evil.
What happened here?
There's still time. They might still do it.
Are we taking 6+ years to approve a development where 70% of the homes will be deed restricted for our local workforce?
It's really hard to say. I'm comfortable saying it. We have to look at limits to growth. And we need to say we're...
Oh, no.
We'll just be a smaller community.
Luther Probst is also a Teton County commissioner. He was one of the first and most vocal critics of the project.
I oppose Northern South Park. I don't see how it's going to work. We cannot build our way out of this crisis, despite what some of the rah-rah developer types like to say.
This desire to limit growth in Jackson Hole isn't new. You can find it in community planning workshops from the 90s, where residents express concern about rapid growth threatening small-town values and the loss of scenic beauty and wildlife. And you can find it in this document from 1994, which has shaped housing in the valley ever since.
The comprehensive plan is a guiding document for future development in the valley.
The first part of the comp plan is preserve and protect the area's ecosystem. That is like right there, number one. That's like what everybody goes back to.
Prior to 1994, all of the open land in the county was zoned 1 house per 3 acres. And that changed in 1994 to 1 house per 35. And that's a big change. The lack of supply has driven property values very high.
Jackson Hole has a long history of conserving nature, but there's another name for these kinds of policies.
What do we call it? NIMBYism? Okay.
They fucking name dropped it. I didn't think they would do that. What the hell? What the hell? That's crazy. They've come around, guys. They've come around.
Not in my backyard.
But in this case, the backyard is the Grand Tetons.
You want to protect your view. You don't want apartment buildings.
And the NIMBYs are worth, in some cases, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Some of those people have the luxury of time. A lot of the people who this project would benefit don't have the luxury of time.
There's no end. There's no light at the end of the tunnel, I think, in this problem.
At what point does housing our community become the priority?
But to understand what this community chooses to prioritize, it helps to follow the money.
Oh no, oh boy.
Jackson Hole isn't just known for its wealth. It's also known for its generosity.
We have this nonprofit world here. Over 200 nonprofits for this community.
But not all nonprofits are funded equally.
Of those nonprofits, there's like 4 that get funding from the lion's share.
Wait, maybe they're going to go after the environmental nonprofits. They're going to be even more based.
There's no shortage of donations for conservation and the...
Oh my god. Only good, more perfect union video guy. Guys, I've come around, okay? Who's the guy that made this? John Russell. That guy seems chill. Do you think this video has more dislikes and stuff? It seems like people are not commenting on most of what the video says.
If you were to put it on a map, you would have these circles of, this is the land trust, and then Wildlife Museum, Center for the Arts, and then over here is the One Health and Human Service Organization, and then everything else is like dots.
We have the richest county in the country, and we have 70-some homeless families. Like, that's shame on us.
Sarah Cavallaro runs Teton Youth and Family Services. In the last few years, she's seen another side of Jackson's housing crisis.
It's mom and dad are getting divorced. We don't have a house. We can't pay for food. We've got 7 jobs going on, so nobody's watching the kids.
But with recent funding cuts from the
7 jobs,
she struggled to make up the difference with philanthropy.
The priorities are completely fucking skewed. Like, they don't make any sense.
And even though affordable housing does occasionally get funded by wealthy donors,
A very generous donor donated somewhere around $20 million to lower the price of housing.
Wait, I don't know this Ralph Nader lore. I'm not familiar with that part of his lore. Familiar with the Bush 2000 election stuff, but
Housing in a project downtown.
It hasn't happened at a scale that comes anywhere close to meeting the need.
I would generally be in favor of mass migration if we only gave permits to permanent visas to immigrants. We have complete and temporary visas for everyone else. We have to compete for. Oh. What is this stuff? An insurgent attack on traditional liberalism took shape in America, built on the ideals of citizen advocacy and public interest, environmentalists, social critics, and consumer advocates like Rachel Oh, this makes sense. Jane Jacobs, Ralph Nader, and others crusaded against what they saw as misguided and corrupt government. Drawing energy from civil rights protests and opposition to Vietnam War, the new citizen movement drew legions of followers, scored major victories, disrupting plans for highways and dams. This makes I am familiar. I think I know this Rachel Carson girl, because didn't she write that one fucking book about environmentalism? I might be thinking of this one. It might have been this one, I guess. Didn't she write this shit and then fucking died? Yeah, hold on. Oh, Kick HQ AI bot. Yeah, I know this girl, I think.
There is a small donor pool for people that contribute to housing. That's just
Give visas to hot women to come to this country. I agree.
It's another reason why the Northern South...
It should improve birth rates. Probably, I guess.
That project will require 2 of our nonprofit housing providers to raise somewhere between $250 million and $400 million. I will believe that when I see it.
It raises an obvious question. Why can't the wealthiest community in the country find the money to provide housing for everyone?
all these people are like, doing these things in the name of...
Okay. We obviously kind of see how the issue is it's not really the money though, right? It's like there are people who want to build homes. They got the money. At least not for that specific development or whatever that requires that, but a lot of it's just blocked by the regulations, the environmental laws.
Affordable housing make up the difference with the land get funded by wealthy donors.
A very generous donor donated somewhere around.
We're close to meeting the need.
There is a small donor pool for people that contribute to housing. That's just the way it is.
It's another reason why the Northern South Park project is anything but guaranteed.
That project will require 2 of our nonprofit housing providers to raise somewhere between $250 million and $400 million. I will believe that when I see it.
It raises an obvious question. Why can't the wealthiest community in the country find the money to provide housing for everyone?
All these people are like, doing these things in the name of conservation that ultimately benefit them.
The arts are definitely always getting funded. Go downtown and there's 10 galleries. You can't house a person in an art gallery.
They're not impacted by...
Oh my God, we got more perfect union being against art galleries now. Oh, so based. Oh my God, dude, let's go.
Maybe they lose their favorite server at the Thai restaurant they love going to. It's like the hell with everybody else. I got mine. I'm not worried.
After spending a week in the richest county in America, I couldn't find a single billionaire who would talk to me.
So are you talking to any of the wealthy people?
They don't want to talk to us. No one wants to talk to us.
I get it.
We're asking hard
you're not surprised, are you?
Yeah, no.
But what I did find was a breathtaking landscape in a community
that's
been completely transformed by wealth. from the moment the first billionaires ever showed up.
The father of fossil fuels came here to buy land to protect nature. That's been a dynamic that's played out ever since then.
The mindset that people have.
Oh no, they're ruining it. They're throwing it away. They're gonna say, we must still protect it. We should just ban the billionaires from coming.
When they moved here, and the drive to preserve it and not allow anything else to happen is what made the biggest change.
Those same people flying in here on private jets, but then they come here and they protect the environment as a way to like give back.
It's easy to come here and enjoy and fall in love with it, but it's so hard on the locals, on the people who have been here, who make the wheels turn. Yeah, it's hard.
When the owners kicked us out, one lady say, hey, I have an idea. Why we don't go inside to the rich people empty houses and we live in there? They don't use it. And say, and we go to the jail, lady.
But the situation in Jackson Hole isn't inevitable. It's not the result of some fundamental law of nature. It's a result of policy choices. Choices about how to carve up land, how much housing.
Okay, they didn't ruin it. Okay.
And who should have to pay for it.
The devil's in the details here, like the policy details. The policies that are put in place support a particular kind of person. I mean, that's what we're seeing everywhere. And it's hard to undo that without people power.
If you were king or queen for the day and you could snap your fingers and fix this, what would you do?
I will doing more houses for the people. If the rich people can help to give more money to building more houses, real affordable houses, because they are kicking out all workers from Jackson. And I don't want to move from here because it's a wonderful place. It's a very, very beautiful community.
That's what our country is now, period. And like this is just the most extreme version of it playing out. I guess that's what makes Teton County so special. It's a lot of the same, but like it's very extreme.
Okay. That's how you know shit is fucked, is we got more perfect union. We got more perfect union shitting on NIMBYs, bro. That's how you know shit is fucked. That's how you know. Okay, I'm playing Lucioball. What slop do we want to watch? I got a bunch of random shit. By the way, I'm have a debate scheduled with the Ancom Ultra Runner dude Caden on next Saturday, like a week from today. That's just when our schedules align, so it's a bit away, but we have that scheduled now. Loads over water, dies, or Overwatch dies inside. I like Lucioball. I like Lucioball, bro. Okay, do we want to watch any of the DSA stuff, or do we want to watch the... I think I probably want to watch some of this. This is along the same lines of what we were talking about, or what chat was talking about as well.
That you found yourself in the position of being the defenders of these institutions that are broken. Right.
We're going to need to work together and frankly shed some old habits while we're at work fixing some old systems. This is harder than it ought to be for Democrats, who have sometimes allowed ourselves to get boxed in as defenders of the institutions and systems that we inherited. And look, I know how it happened. We were right to be outraged when they came in and perverted the system, rigged the system, burned down important parts of the system. But the answer cannot be to try to put everything back the way it used to be.
Not many liberals would support Cato's building a wall around the welfare state plan. I mean, I agree. Shockingly enough, many liberals do not agree with the Cato Institute on welfare. Whoa.
We're not going to all this trouble just to find the shards of everything they smashed up and try to tape it back together to look just like it used to.
Even, while paying lip service, saying they should be changed or whatever, like, just because Donald Trump is bringing this flamethrower to everything. But, Democrats find themselves being like, well, defending kind of the military industrial complex because Trump was saying that it was bad, or defending the FBI, or, like all these things that, in the past had not been the provenance of the left, right? And
God, I hope really just has a good answer here. And I think he probably will do okay. But God. Obviously I think there's like certain fringes on the left, aka literally NOK Life, who are like, I say fundamentally against the FBI or whatever, but are like a lot more like skeptical of police than I think probably the median Democrat or whatever is. But then there's also just like You know, obviously we should, whatever your opinions on the FBI and such are, like obviously there are reasons to be very much opposed to the fact that like Trump just fired, what was the name of the guy before Kash Patel came in? You know, fired the head of the FBI, even though they're supposed to serve like 10-year terms, and that's not traditionally, that's a norm that we've had, that that president's not supposed to do that. Like obviously there are reasons we should be very much against that. Muslims support an expansive immigration and extensive welfare state for immigrants, which is suicide. Fuck me, which is suicidal. I disagree both on like, I don't think the median Democrat probably does not have like crazy views on immigration, right? I don't think the median Democrat is like you got to consider, okay, there's a lot of like boomer, okay, Midwestern Democrats who are like not that pro immigration. They're not the same type of like crazy anti-Western college kid type of person that might support insane amounts of immigration and insane amounts of welfare. They're just like kind of normal people. But I obviously, you know, I think you could just like have and also, by the way, I understand you're talking about the modern context, but Bill Clinton literally did welfare reform that excluded immigrants from a lot of welfare. Hold on, I'm locked in Lucioball.
And how do you even get out of that?
Do you think that'd be palatable today? What Bill Clinton did, from my understanding, probably, but maybe not.
Identify it than to figure out how to get out of it, because when you're always going to be the institutionalist party, kind of, if you're running against the clowns with flamethrowers. So a couple things. I think this is exactly right. We hated seeing them burn down or break down all these things, so of course we instinctively defended them, and on one level I get that. It's criminally wrong to just burn down the USAID or the Department of Education or you name it, right? But that doesn't mean everything's going along just fine. So how do we get through this? A couple things. One, I think we need to be going back to first principles, and we think we're like the intellectual party, like the thoughtful party, but I think many
college Dems need to be declared a Marxist domestic terrorist organization. Well, half of them probably already are, right? Because they probably fall into the pro-Palestine bucket that I think is in the was in the whatever executive order.
Ways we've actually lost a step compared to the right. I mean, I imagine you may have come up in this world, right? Where if you're like a young Republican staffer of our generation, like you, by the time you show up for your first campaign or Capitol Hill internship, like you have like a copy of Hayek or Friedman issued by the Heritage Foundation under your arm, right? Like you're thinking about
True.
And you would think the left would have that too, but actually, like because the academic left got less and less connected to kind of politics and in some ways I think to reality, we actually have a bit of a weakness.
Oh, I do. I knew he would have a good answer. I knew it was in him. You have the majority opinion said party saying that we want to abolish immigration enforcement and that would be palatable. I don't think that is the majority opinion in the Democratic Party. And also, you didn't even... So, I think it would especially be palatable in the context of one of the big concerns from right-leaning people is immigration and welfare. So in the context of like, you know, Nick Shirley being a dude who... Where the fuck did it kill me? Being a dude that exists and comments on the type of things, people are probably more willing to, even if they don't support it, at least like compromise on that to some extent because of the perception that is a big deal. You can still have foreign labor on temporary labor visas, just wall them off from permanent immigration system, giving them political rights and benefits worth millions of dollars is what makes less skilled immigrants than negative. You can just do that. Wow. Oops, wrong thing.
On our side. So I think we need to be investing more in the same way that the right did for decades in thinking about, okay, what are our like basic commitments in liberalism and what do they mean for a 2020s answer to what a Department of Education should look like or what housing policy ought to be like or how we do international development. I think that's a really important piece.
Project 2029, if you will.
Well, but more like a Project 2050, right? This is what I'm getting at. Like I know there's a lot of kind of attempts at a Project 2029. Some of them are doing really good work, but you know, the thing that became Project 2025 started in the Heritage Foundation in, I believe, 1980. Like that's when they started this iterative process that they updated every few years that became Project 2025, which means if we wanted to do a Project 2050 and we started today, we'd already be like 20 years behind compared to that, right? So like, of course, we need answers for kind of immediate moves. And what I admire about the Project 29 stuff is it's looking at kind of tools and laws and departments, things that exist right now and how you could run with them and make change right away. That's great. But who's thinking about 2050 and kind of solving back from that to what we ought to be doing in 2026 if we want to get to where we ought to be in 2050? I think that's the level of ambition that the last generation or two of right-wing think tank leaders and the smarter politicians on the right had. And I think we've been punched in the face so much on the left and among Democrats that we have a hard time kind of seeing over the horizon into that. The other thing I would say, I mean, some of that sounds like very kind of like big picture and cosmic and academic, but
it also sounds a little institutional. It's still kind of like an institutional answer. It's not, the answer is not like, oh, we're going to come in and say, you know, screw, I don't know, let's burn down, like, look at these mistakes in Iran, and maybe we should get rid of bases in the region. Maybe we should get out of the region altogether. Or look at how Cash has screwed up the FBI. Maybe we need to rip the FBI root and branch and start it from scratch. I don't know.
No, but I think we should be ready to do that kind of clean sheet thinking, especially because right now we have clean sheets in a lot of places because they just burned everything down. I hate how we got the clean sheet, but that's where we're at. So I think that is the level of ambition we got to have. But the other way to think about it is ground up. So for example, I've been talking to more and more mayors who are very frustrated with dealing with HUD as we know it. And HUD actually has not been destroyed in the same way that like the Department of Education or USAID have. But you know, obviously not being led in the best way right now. But my point is, I don't think anybody would say the way it looked 5 years or 10 years or 20 years ago was ideal. Certainly from the perspective of the mayor trying to build housing or get housing to be more affordable. So I've been talking to mayors saying, okay,
if you want to maintain economic liberalism, free speech and association, individual, non-racial treatment, efficient government, all of these things are threatened by political impact. I just don't think the effect is that big. And I think I just have much bigger concerns with, I think, the ways in which, like, the people who are anti-immigration, like, you know, Trump and the MAGA movement, they are also, they're not very economically liberal. They don't protect free speech and association. They don't like DI. So, like, an individual non-racial treatment, there's that, I guess. But I think even, you know, there are other margins at which, even with regards to immigration, they are not particularly great. Like, it was even the fucking Muslim ban in Trump's first term. All these things are, yeah, like, I just think those are bigger deals, especially in the short term, at least.
They got to start over. Like, what would be different? What would give you the flexibility you need to actually build something? Because I talked to some mayors who say they're better off finding a different source of money altogether than trying to use federal money to solve a problem. I actually experienced a version of this in transportation, like the signature transportation policy that I had as mayor, the one that got me recognition from the U.S. Department of Transportation. I felt so proud. They invited me to
get a certificate.
Yeah, I got a plaque. Yeah, from the Secretary of Transportation, and I was really proud of that.
Norman Mineta?
No, it was Anthony Fox. And it was a big deal for us. But we actually did that project without federal funding because partly because it would have been too hard to get and to use the federal funding. That was the kind of thing I tried to work on and change when I was in Washington. So what I'm saying is kind of from the top down in terms of like getting back in touch with our first principles and big ideas, and from the bottom up in terms of looking at, okay, what actually works. We should be ready to have everything look different, including things that are cherished, because the reality is so different, including on things that we cherish. We care a lot about the UN. And, you know, in many ways, even though it's easy to take a shot at the UN, rhetorically, politically, and you know, there's lots of justification for some of that. But like, if you talk about the mission of, you know, preventing another world war, like as of today, done pretty well at that, right? But more broadly, like the way that place works, the bureaucracy of it, the setup of it, the things that don't have any real effectual impact there, probably reflect the fact that that was set up in such a different time. Like the Security Council was set up at a time when 9 out of 10 people living in China were impoverished rural peasants. And now, I think it's probably safe to say that a person who lives in a city, like a middle-class city dweller in China, on average, may live a more like technologically advanced life than a middle-class city in the U.S. I'd rather in the U.S.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if that's... I can understand the point he's making, but I don't know if that's true. There are like... There's like cool shit that China has that the U.S. might not adopt as fast. Their electric cars are pretty cool. I wish we had those here, but, you know, don't know overall.
Sure. But I'm just talking about like one example. AI obviously brings a whole other set of examples of all these realities that have changed. The institutions haven't. I think rather than just fine tuning and tinkering, it's time to start over. And in many cases, we have to.
Some of I have like two wolves inside of me on this. Like, there's the political wolf that is like, I want you to go further. Like, I want the Democrats to, capture the spirit of, being the ones that went after the system, that went after the man, right? Like, I went to a TPS-8 conference before Charlie died, and one of the things that struck me about it was, one of the things I always did is I went up to the young guys, and I was just always like, why are you here? I'm like, what?
How do we get to Charlie Kirk? How do we?
What is it that animates you about this? And how many of them were basically just like, F the man. I'm tired of the man. I don't want to go to stupid wars. I'm screwed. And it's like, that's so weird that that's the conservative conference, that is the feeling. And so part of me like wants the Democrats to capture that sentiment more. Then there's like the small C conservative part of me, Oakshot, that's like, okay, I read you a notice the other day, you did an interview where you're talking about how you're radicalized inside the Biden administration or something, but by the fact that, some of these big changes didn't get done. But I look at the Biden administration, I'm like, well, there was one issue in which y'all went for like big change outside of the norms in the system. That was student loan reform. And that was a disaster. It was a political disaster that was, it ends up getting overruled by the conservative Supreme Court. People didn't.
Was that even the biggest? I mean, that might have been more visible. But like, I don't know, like the IRA had quite a bit of like climate change funding stuff in it. I think the American Rescue Plan, arguably, had even, too many progressive things in it. It was too big. and it's responsible for at least a non-negligible portion of the post-COVID inflation we saw. Like, you know, I don't think student loan forgiveness is that great of a policy even.
Go to college are kind of bitter, and they're like, "Why? I'm just pissed that why didn't I get a bailout?" People that thought they were going to get a bailout and didn't get a bailout were mad, and so you guys tried to go outside the system and break the system, and you know, you ended up stepping on a rake. And so part of me thinks about that. It's like, it sounds nice to say we want big reform, but the best example of that from the Biden administration was a total failure. So there's a reason that particular policy wasn't on my list when I was running for president. But look, I'd say I am not here to say that the administration was wrong to take big swings. Obviously, I was in the middle of the big swing we took on infrastructure. I'm proud of it. There's a lot of things also that I learned about what makes it harder to do more in the system that we have. But also, you know, good policies that were big swings, like the policy around the child tax credit that cut child poverty in half in this country, right? But I don't think the problem was that there were too many big swings. We could argue that some of them were right, some of them were wrong, but I still think the bigger problem in those years was that our party was not ready to really dig in on the bigger, deeper structural problems that we have. And I get it. If you finally manage to pull off a win in this structure, are you really going to immediately turn around and try to take down the structure that you want? Well, the people in charge now are. So what are some we weren't? Well, I would start, first of all, I think we've lost like 10 good years on money in politics. I think if we got to work on constitutional change around Citizens United.
Yes, public integrity means doing something.
No, he's lost me.
About the role of money in our politics. They say that's impossible because of Citizens United. You can't do anything about that, short of a constitutional amendment. Well, then let's do that.
Don't worry, guys. It's okay. Okay, this is not gonna happen. Was this filmed? I think it was filmed like 5 or 6 days ago? Question mark. 4 days ago. Well, it was when it was uploaded. I don't know when it was filmed. It probably was filmed after the decision on even the individual contribution limits being unconstitutional, right? Because we got that ruling recently. At the same time as the slaughter ruling and the birthright citizenship ruling, right? So,
I mean, we did 29 of them. This would make a pretty good 30th Amendment, I should think. We went so far as to
he's counted that he's pulling a Biden. Oh my God, he's counted the ERA, bro, which did, I guess, technically get ratified by 3/4 of the states eventually, just not within the time span it needed to. So.
change our constitution so you couldn't get a beer. And then we thought that's a bad idea. We changed it back. So don't tell me we can't change the Constitution to clear up that money is not speech and corporations are not people. Don't tell me we can't take big swings, take real risks, do big work. That kind of thing takes 20 or 30 years to do. If we'd started 10 years ago, we'd be halfway there, if you believe it takes 20 years. And we just don't have that much work to show for it. I think that the commitments on Supreme Court reform could have been a lot more ambitious. Again, I'm having flashbacks to people looking at me really funny here in Iowa in 2019 when I'm saying, I don't think we have the right number of justices on the Supreme Court. I don't think we have the right way of choosing justices on the Supreme Court. And now that's...
I'm going to give you credit on this one. I looked at you funny on that one. The very first time, you would not remember this, very first time we met my friend Liz Smith, it was gathering a little round table for you. I was living in Oakland at the time, and it was in some conference room in San Francisco. You were the mayor of...
I don't know if Pete Buttigieg was pro court reform that far back.
South Bend, and I'm sitting in there with like 20 dudes in lanyards, and you were doing this. Like, we need a full Supreme Court reform. We need 13 Supreme Court. We need rotating justices. And I'm in the back going, oh, that one's happening. Who is this mayor that wants to be president thinks we should have 13 Supreme Court justices? But that was OG, and you hadn't even announced yet. That was where you were from the start.
No, I'm surprised you came to that.
Oh yeah, well, Liz, it was a favor. It was a favor. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And now I think we see why that you know, most Democrats, and not yet most Americans, are.
That was the part I wanted to watch. We might watch some of this. Some of the stuff as well later, but I want to watch this one section too, I guess.
Last time you were on, you gave a surprisingly interesting answer from a politician. Usually, I have like politicians on the podcast less because you guys were a little less interesting oftentimes. Sorry, for just bullshitting. But I gave you the time machine question. So if you go back, what would you have done differently? 5 years ago. And the easy, or like the obvious answer that a lot of people give is Merrick Garland. Maybe the Biden administration should have put in somebody else at DOJ who's more aggressive at investigating Trump. You talked about COVID mistakes. People can go listen to that if they want. I agree with that. But let's do the project forward now, like within the context of the Garland, right? Is that how do you think about that in 2029? It seems like there's some crimes happening. I mean, president's family's getting unbelievably rich. Corey Lewandowski, there's some reports that some insider deals at DHS. or murdering people in the streets. We don't even know who the shooter was in one of these killings. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of potential accountability. How do you think about that?
I think there has to be accountability. And I don't buy into this idea that we have to just kind of paper over and pretend that didn't happen, especially because this is not about going after fellow Americans who disagreed with us politically. This is about making sure that corruption doesn't go unchecked, and it should be done in a way that is raising the bar, whether we're talking about Republicans or Democrats or anybody else in power, abusing their power. I believe much more of that's happening among Republicans right now than not, but it's not about Republicans and Democrats, right? And I actually think we only get to a place where things get better in this country when we've established that the kind of self-dealing, the kind of corruption, the kind of, I'm pretty confident, illegal behavior, but that has to be shown, right, in court, that there's some accountability for that. And if we get it right, kind of a permission structure for people who were part of it to renounce it as well. I actually think that's really important.
Ooh, I like that answer.
We can make somebody do that, but I know, you and I both know, there are a lot of people who are part of this who know in their hearts that they're part of something that is wrong. And if any one of us is wrong about something politically or ideologically, that's whatever. I mean, we're right, we're wrong, that is what it is. But if people are part of something that's legally wrong, or wrong by the lights of just basic morality in this whole country, never mind the politics of it, that's the way to talk about that. And over time, that's the way to talk about that openly, so that we get to a place, when I'm thinking about 2050, where there are certain just basic boundaries and principles that people who voted either way last time around agree on by then. The people who are against each other on all kinds of things still agree on this as the foundation.
What about the ballroom? Do we take out a sledgehammer to that? Do you start tearing that back down?
I definitely think there's some like weird gold filigree that's got to come off a lot of federal buildings, and some pictures of the dear leader that have to go. But I don't know. I mean, to me, the thing about the ballroom more is just what it symbolizes, right? This idea that you tore something down and are raising all this money and spending all this time and energy, as if the big problem that Americans have right now is, we lack a nicer ballroom for fancy parties at the White House. As if like any of the people who voted for this guy, we're going to the polls saying like, the reason I want this guy is I know he builds a damn good ballroom.
Yeah.
And I want to send that to Washington.
One other quote in your speech last night seemed to be a reference to what happened to you recently.
And it means state and federal.
Okay, not that I think like Newsom or anyone would have given a different answer, I guess, but I'd like that answer. I like Buttigieg. He's a chill dude. Hold on, I gotta lock in real quick. I gotta score. Hold on, I gotta lock in. Hold on. Uh-oh. Oh, fuck. Oh my god, just wasted all. Let's go. I didn't think it would go in. Incredible. All skill. Okay, we might watch some more of that later, but I just want to watch like the two little sections there. Wasn't even as populist as I expected him to be. Okay, I expected to get some memes about other shit, but he really only did like money and politics, and that was like the only kind of bad-ish meme.
Welcome.
Okay. We might watch both of these, we might not, but this is Soypale talking to people about the DSA. Apparently Dylan Burns really does not like the DSA insurgency in the Democratic Party because of many of their ambiguous to anti-Ukraine takes. So fortunately, I'm pretty sure Dylan Burns is I'm pretty sure he's a pretty progressive dude, so he might not bring up some of the things that I care about, but we'll see. Consider that college Democrats bring Hassan Piker to events, I'm assuming. Consider that a median Democrat wants immigration enforcement much less thorough. What does this tell you? I don't know what you think it should tell me. I think it says that a lot of young Democrats are pretty progressive people, that many of them even lean socialist. I don't know if a majority of them do or not. It might be a majority. And I think it means that liberals more generally have like a compassionate, you might not like that term, whatever, but I think that is just the motivation for a lot of them, like a compassionate understanding of immigration enforcement.
Does non-Fon say no to sexual violence?
Yeah, obviously.
True. Thank you, Frank, for backing me up. They have like a sympathies there for immigrants, and they have some understanding whether or not you agree with the belief that like a lot of immigrants are just not harmful to America.
everybody to another debate on the Tom Flory Show. Today we're discussing the DSA taking over the Democrat Party. What are the issues with this? What are the risks? At the core, the Democrats are looking to balance the ideological differences between liberals and socialists with the current electoral popularity of the DSA, with candidates like Zoran Mamdani and AOC leading in popularity in New York, and helping other DSA candidates like Daria Liza and Claire Valdez with their primaries over DNC-backed candidates. Liberals in the Democrat establishment are faced with a hard decision. Do we accept this newer, more extreme faction into the fold and possibly help them gain more popularity, or do we push back against the DSA and their leadership in hopes of a better future? For the debate, I'm joined by these three young, dashing men. We've got Cassell here. We had him on a debate a little while ago. Dylan Burns and Soypill. And hopefully Jordy Liebeck will be here shortly. But I guess we'll go ahead and start with openings, and then we'll go to open debate a little bit after that. So Cassell, if you want to start us off, we'll go from you to Soy and then Dylan.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks again, Tom, for having me. So I think the topic is really interesting just because of all the headlines in the news, especially from the latest elections in New York, showcasing a lot of hype and kind of propelling the DSA with the mayoral election, but then afterwards, after some primaries happened, especially in New York in particular, and there's some outside of New York City. I think it's Colorado, there was one.
It's somewhat quiet for you guys.
Candidate was elected. And so I
It might be loud enough, but
the DSA is kind of where the Democratic Party is lacking messaging and maybe marketing skills. And they're saying that because of that, the Democratic Party should embrace them fully. And I think there's some truth to that. And I think there's also some missteps in doing so. I think if you look at the DSA as an organization, I think a lot of times people look at their successes and they don't look at their failures. Out of all those Zoran Mamdanis out there, there are a lot of people who have also run under the DSA ticket who have not won their elections. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, the Democratic Party and their leaders have faults at finding and picking candidates. But at the end of the day, their percentage rate of winning elections and representing the country has outpaced the DSA so far. And I think obviously the DSA over the past decade or so, you could say, is fairly new at gaining ground and becoming more prominent, a prominent faction.
Consider that Narasta justifies Somalian immigration by saying, what do you think? I'm so confused what your point is. What do you think? What do you think the need? What do you think of his need to control for race here? I don't know. Yeah, it's a silly thing to do. Everyone made fun of him for it on Twitter. I'm so confused what your point is. I'm so confused what points you like. You're so confusing to me, bro. I feel like you very rarely respond to many of the points I make, and then you just go to like some other stuff about like some theory of mine for Democrats or progressives, and it's just like stuff I think it's just either unfair or just I don't know or I just don't have a particular claim on, and a lot, very much, few or little bit is stuff I care about or is like a matter of policy or whatever.
The left. But I think there are some issues that they have as an organization that I think are dangerous if you start to accept it as the Democratic Party. But I think there are things, like I mentioned, that you can take from them that will be advantageous. I think the way they market themselves, their ideas that are bold and kind of address a lot of the younger people in the population that are more active on social media do have a net benefit. I think there are certain things that
oh no, kill me.
The DSA and the far left have said that are also detrimental, and they kind of step on their own feet when they talk to media and people find, you know, old tweets that they bring up or policy positions that are just totally out of step with the normal American. So there are things that I think the Democratic Party can take away that are good from them, but I don't think that they have to embrace the whole pie here. And there are examples, like you look at an AOC, where people do start pretty, or what the media or the average American thinks is far left, and then that person can start to shift towards the middle a little bit. I think some folks have even called that out of AOC, saying, you know, she was more progressive in the past when she was first elected, and now she's, you know, becoming a little more center. Not she is center, but inching a little bit more that way over time. But I think it's also showcased her ability to find common ground and actually get good things passed. So I think if you can find smart candidates within the DSA and they have the ability and willingness to listen and kind of change positions over time that aren't against 80-20 issues, there are some benefits there. I'm just skeptical of the DSA as a whole organization being able and willing to kind of find that common ground instead of being more polarizing. So that's where I stand on the issue.
All right. Appreciate it, Cassell. And then Soypill.
Yeah, so I'm not in the DSA and I'm not like super duper pro DSA, but I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy around how critical we are of a group that I understand why people don't like. You know, they have a lot of radical positions, they attack Democrats on the left flank, but then you'll get people saying, you know,
I have leftist derangement syndrome and I'm proud of it. Real.
That keeps, you know, us from going too far left. And I don't understand why these same sorts of arguments don't apply to, one, a party that, you know, keeps us from going too far right or at least pushes us in more positive directions, but two, is now being, you know, not, I guess, promoted by candidates that are fighting and like meeting the moment a lot better than a lot of the establishment, more center Democrats. It's hard to be upset when I see Daria Liza or Maylot or Mamdani win when they have some positions I don't agree with, right? Like rent control doesn't seem to be something that works out as far as I'm concerned, or a billionaire tax isn't nearly so good as land tax, or like closing certain loopholes. But if I can look at these and they're pushing for populist messages that are resonating with these voters, they are talking about fighting hard and not compromising with Trump candidates or like Trump appointees and like voting against these things. It's very hard for me to not say, hey, this is good that these people are winning. Like you can be upset with position XYZ, but overall I think there are more positives. The negatives would have to be that they promote negative policies that make the party look bad and that don't work, right? So if Mamdani comes in and does these rent freezes, if Darlisa comes in, and she hasn't, by the way, and says,
I mean, I think some of the bad policies don't actually make a. We're gonna ignore that I just did that. Some of the policies I don't actually think make Democrats like look bad, because I think a lot of voters support. Wait, did I not mess up? Was it? I thought I bounced it right off the middle part and into the goal, but I think someone else hit it. Okay. But like, I just don't like the policy, but I think it's bad. I wish it made the Democrat look bad. I wish people are against it. We just have significantly different outlooks on on models of the world. We won't ever agree. We are fundamentally different, but none of what you, like I said, a lot of what you say to me is just not. It's just all like criticisms of like some theory of mind for why Democrats behave the way they do, and I feel like either they're just like not fair, and then I point out how I don't think they're fair, and then you kind of just don't rebut or whatever, or even on issues of policy, it's like you say something and I'm like, I just don't understand this view, and I provide evidence for it, and then you just don't you just move on to some other stuff, bro, like about your fucking grandpa, like.
abolition. This is my policy. I'm trying to vote for it, and it doesn't work out. Then okay, cool. Like now, the things that as a social democrat I want that these people are more likely to promote, that gets fucked, and I'm upset by that. But ultimately, it looks like Mamdani's doing a great fucking job, and I would hope that these candidates are also going to do a great job. And the ones that are like too radical and oppose like even working, with this coalition, they get voted out. And I'm kind of okay with that. So I'm not. I think there's
another great argument for epistocracy.
A lot of scaremongering. I think that we're fine, and we're actually, if anything, on the right track because at least people are meeting the moment.
Wait. Is that? That's not. Is that referring to Epstein, or is that referring to? That's what. There might be. I might be missing something here, but that's what I think of. I don't know why that's immediately where my mind. Or is that referring to? Oh my god, I messed up again.
So that's my position now, but I'd be open to hearing why I should be more scared of the scary DSA people.
All right, appreciate it, Soypil. And Dylan. Of course, he takes a drink right when he comes out.
I timed that, actually, just to sabotage him.
The power of silence. Okay. So I want to just start out here by saying I don't have a problem with the majority of the DSA rank and file. How I got my start in politics was by feeling the real pains of the worst of poverty and looking for strong solutions to that. That is what made me ultimately look to an American socialist, Bernie Sanders, for answers. And you can describe me as a Bernie bro. And I remember some of the proudest days of my youth were going to Nevada to canvass for that man and seeing the betting odds go above 50% for Bernie Sanders to actually be the nominee in 2020 after supporting him in 2016. I believe poverty in this country is a disease. It needs to be fought tooth and nail. Everybody deserves health care. Everybody deserves housing. And I think that these things are part of the reasons why our societal fabric is fringing. So I am not here to say that the popular ideas that are getting people mobilized behind DSA and getting people to consider voting for a socialist in the United States, I'm not saying that we should abandon those ideas, we shouldn't take up those ideas, or if somebody is advocating for those ideas, that we shouldn't even champion them. What I am saying is that we should not take the popular ideas and start saying that that means we need to overlook ideas that are evil. Not okay, not a little bad, that's not morally correct, evil. There is a real problem of campism in DSA. There is a real problem of people who are perfectly comfortable abandoning a people, in one case to ethnic cleansing, but doing everything in their power to stop another ethnic cleansing, despite the fact that it is the largest scale ethnic cleansing on the planet, the largest scale war on the planet, and every single time this supposedly anti-war party has given political organization, whatever you want to call it, amoeba, has come out and had a chance to speak on the war, they have spoke on it in harmful ways, whether it was before the full-scale invasion or after, using every opportunity to target American critical systems that are being sent to a nation that we disarmed, that we asked to disarm for our safety. And being the perfect Americans that they are, after they got what they wanted from the power affected by our imperial hubris, they are very quick to abandon.
I know Soypil is pro-Ukraine, and I'm pretty sure this other dude is too, and I'm pretty sure the one guy that's not here yet, Jordan, whatever his last name is, I don't know. I know him as Kid, not Kin. Okay. Fairly certain he's pro-Ukraine too. I'm pretty sure Because that seems to be the biggest thing Dylan cares about, which I don't think is like totally unfair or anything. I don't know. I think he's gonna have a hard time saying that actually makes it net negative alone.
Abandoned them to adopt the snakishness of the American elite that has abandoned the Kurds as their own, and I'm supposed to look at that.
Like like if everyone agrees on the same policies and also everyone else agrees on the same goal, like Democrats winning. Like I think it's gonna be hard for him to say the Ukraine issue is really alone what makes it net negative there. It's cool that Burns is like exactly the caricature of a pro-Palestinian lib just for Ukraine.
From Kiev, from a bomb shelter, from the front line, and I'm supposed to feel immense joy
kind of, I guess,
winning who are too cowardly to figure out how they can interpret Ukraine when it comes to their messaging. DSA talked quite a bit about Ukraine before 2022, and they talked about it immediately following 2022, between 2022 and 2024. Whether you look at the events they did with Copink, whether you look at the publications that they put out on social media, you want to know when they stopped talking about Ukraine? After Trump won. After Trump won and he cut off all the aid, you can't find fucking shit on their socials talking about the war. They shut up. It's like the war fucking stopped happening. And through doing Track Ukraine, I've got to engage with campaigns on the national level where there will be Congress people coming from these circles. And I have to say, there is a genuine fear about talking about Ukraine from DSA candidates. It is perplexing. It is strange. I don't know how to deal with it sometimes, listening to people saying, well, you know, I kind of support Ukraine in principle, but, you know, bombs are aesthetically unpleasing, or, you know, I'm worried about what this group will think. And it seems more like candidates are worried about upsetting a small social cadre around the small group of people around them. Maybe they're from the International Committee, maybe they're from Jacobin writers, I don't know, but I think a lot of them are from the International Committee. And they've decided to keep those people happy over prioritizing the vast majority of Democratic primary voters, literally weakening their campaigns for an issue.
What's up, Agent Orange? Good chat, Dylan Burns.
They not went on with Democrats.
I mean, I'm very pro Ukraine, and I think that like a lot of TSA candidates are probably not great for Democrats and stuff. I just think it's difficult for me to say if you know, you think that the rest of the policy that the DSA has is like mostly good, and you care a lot about Democrats winning and stuff, that like the Ukraine issues should be big enough to make you discount them quite a bit. I don't know. I just think that's going to be difficult to argue for. Being a single issue voter for foreign policy positions is goated. I just wish it was more widely acceptable. I mean, the issue is like I think I just think like a lot of single issue foreign policy voters that are just very vote like the Gaza voters. Okay, and I just think it's so clear that like Harris was better even on that specific issue, that like maybe that just shouldn't be the single maybe that just like shouldn't be the only thing. They aren't actually principled. Well, some of them are.
On with independence, and is even something where you could pull over a few Republicans. It is a losing issue that they are choosing to dig their heels in the ground on principle. And that's what scares me. What scares me is instead of developing an American socialism, instead of saying, how do we live in the 21st century when we ask the country to give up their atomic weapons, how do we keep their safety? And make sure that, their safety is connected to our safety. A socialism without borders is what it says on their website. Socialism doesn't recognize borders. But we only recognize borders after we disarm the country. We only recognize borders in the fact we don't need to give a fuck after that. When I go to their website, I hear more heeing and hawing about the possibility that we could get dragged into a conflict over Estonia than I really do over the Russian invasion of Ukraine. More worry about the Baltic states than there is worry about the largest imperial power in the world, which is what Russia is. So I think about what I would want if there is to be an American socialism, and there is to be a socialism wave in this country. How can we see an American socialism? One that prioritizes freedom, one that prioritizes American values, one that is accustomed to America's experience, one that acknowledges certain fundamental principles that Americans want to live by, and isn't just an imported foreign version of socialism. And what I mean by that is you can't just take socialism in Russia and import it to the United States. You can't just take socialism in China and import it to the United States. You cannot take your LARPing for a foreign capital socialism and think that it's going to work here. Association with dictator Murderovich is the type of stuff that DSA needs to distance itself from if they're not going to scare grandma in their bed, which tends to be the largest voting demographic, right? If they want to think of them more like, oh, that's that nice Bernie Sanders fella, and not, oh, that's that guy that like made that meme about like struggle sessions like in Maoist China and how they're going to enjoy throwing the landlords off the who gives a fuck. Like this, if they want to do a serious socialism that helps.
I also could be, so as I understand it, I don't know if saying the DSA is decentralized is the best explanation, but like there are pretty big different sects within the DSA, right? I don't actually know what percentage of them are like pro-Ukraine, at least a Dylan Burns standard. It wouldn't surprise me if it was like a minority position. But like, for example, I thought there was a decent amount of like of DSA sects or whatever that like endorsed like AOC and a decent number of them that didn't because of her vote for like Iron Dome funding. So I don't actually know if it's the majority, especially of the candidates running, that are like anti-Ukraine. But I could be wrong. I guess if you include the candidates at the like local level, then it wouldn't surprise me if most of them are anti-Ukraine. But even I don't know. Zoran is a I guess he's technically local level too, but obviously bigger deal. I don't know if he said anything about Ukraine as mayor. He might have some old tweets. Then the DAC girl I know is kind of cringe. So her I get.
People, and not one that feels like
also literally the position of CPUSA for the past 30 years.
Like of hatred of the ruling class and not a love of their neighbors, of a want
Communist Party USA
to shove it to America in some way rather than trying to find a way to America to actually be a partner with its neighbors. Then they'll be an unserious organization. And at some point they're going to get tested on these events. They're going to get tested on these issues. And I think Dara Liza and Claire Valdez are great examples of that. They reacted to the question of Ukraine very cowardly. Dara Liza literally scrubbed her website in order to remove her policy on Ukraine back in February, probably exactly when the Mondami scrubbing process started, when they started to see if they were going to endorse her. Because if I think of the timeline in my head, it kind of lines up. Either way, this needs to be confronted directly, because this is just one example of bad
timeline in my head kind of lines up
that are already immoral, that are also evil, that they're standing by. Now, I don't know if it's going to apply to other issues as well. I think rent control is something we both agree is a bad idea, Soy, but I don't think that's evil. I think rent control is stupid. I don't think it's evil. This is something that's evil, and it needs to be addressed.
I think it's evil.
Okay, well, Soy, do you have something that you want to address that you disagree with?
It's called a takings. It's called a violation of natural rights. Oh, it's up to him. I just feel like bad views on the war in Ukraine is a endemic of poor judgment. That's true. That's fair. But I also think that's true of a lot of other like DSA positions. Terrible understanding of geopolitics and further potential bad policy positions and willingness to lie about their positions. Sure, it literally violates the NAP. That is true. It is literally not voluntary. Literally government coercion, bro.
Sort of. It's more of the framing here, because I think what's important is that Dylan is correctly pointing out, possible bad outcomes that could happen if the DSA were to become more popular and promote some of the ideas that he considers evil. So abandonment of Ukraine.
Are they evil?
Huh?
Are they evil? You said consider evil. Are they evil?
Yeah, like abandoning our routes. I think this is evil, right? Like I think this is a bad position.
Okay.
In the same way, like if the DSA comes out and says like we should abandon Taiwan to China, I think this is a bad. I mean, evil is such a strong word. I mean, it is evil insofar as like I think this is like abandoning innocent people to ethnic cleansing, and this is evil. But like none of these people are like, oh, good.
Is that a strong word? Like for example,
because the reason. Hold on, can I just explain?
Okay, but we should talk in their language, because if that guy in the 13th district was evil for his history with AIPAC and his history.
Holy shit! ICE is on the enemy team. We're locking in.
Organization.
But I think that's
oh fuck yeah. I like my ice crushed. Am I right? Please don't clip that.
Claire Valdez because of his past positions, or Scott Wiener, who's getting harassed in public. And when it comes to Ukraine, we have to be pillow-fisted, limp-wristed. Like we can't. Oh, we'll just wait in the back of the line to stop our ethnic cleansing.
Well, that's the thing is, like. I think that language coming from them towards like potentially pro-Zionist or pro-Israel people is also bad, right? Like depending on why they're doing it. If you
are they not? Are they not playing? Is someone AFK, bro? This game's easy. Holy shit, this game's easy.
Like draw a connection between, hey, this politician is supporting ethnic cleansing because of money, and they are going against their constituents. This is something I'd be like, this is an evil position. But if you got a bunch of like brain rotted people who are like, well, I just think that Zionism is like necessary, and they haven't looked into the history, they don't know what's going on now. They're just like, well, I just think Jews should be able to avoid the Holocaust like in the 40s. And it's like, okay, I don't think you're evil, but I think the position that you're advocating for is promoting evil in that area. In the same way, there are people that are like brain poisoned on fucking Ukraine and think like, well, maybe if we just argue for peace, since only 1 in 4 Ukrainians want to keep up the fighting, maybe if we just give them the territory, it'll be fine, and completely ignore that like this is going to reignite the war. They're going to try to take more land back later. This is going to lead to more innocent deaths. Those people probably aren't evil. Versus like someone's like lying about like the positions and like, oh yeah, actually no, it's good that this is actually entitled to Russia and we should give it to them, and they'll totally not fight back anymore and they know better, right? Like it really depends. But to be clear, if you look at these DSA candidates, not the DSA itself, because first of all, it's not very organized. I was just showing a chart on screen of all the different factions who all fucking want to kill each other. Like it's ridiculous. It's in my opinion not a super serious org insofar as like should you join it? It really depends on which one you're joining. Is it the New York DSA? Is it the small subsection, the Brooklyn DSA? It really depends. It's a mixed bag. So when people advocate join the DSA, I'm like, look into what your local DSA is first. When you look at the candidates that are winning coming out of this, whether it's AOC, whether it's Dara Liza, the worst thing I think that you're seeing, the worst thing in their platforms is silence, right? Dara Liza is not out there saying we should promote diplomacy in Ukraine, which is horrible, right? Like this is not the solution that we.
Well, she had She's probably being silent now because
erased it, right?
in the the past she has had the tweets and she doesn't want to stake out a clear position because I think she would get criticism on either side, either for flip flopping, and people wouldn't like really believe that she was actually pro Ukraine anymore, or from the leftists who are more anti Ukraine, like they would condemn her for turning into a neocon, evil imperialist, yada yada yada.
Like that was the thing that she had erased. I don't know if that's because she's trying to virtue signal.
No, that's not what was erased. I don't know what was erased. And I once again shout out to the Track Ukraine research team. Was a statement against military aid to any country, period. And that of course includes Ukraine. Now, when a country becomes reliant on, what's the difference fundamentally between cutting off people to U.S. aid, killing tons and tons and tons of civilians as they die from infectious diseases, and cutting off air defense systems that then lead to missiles slamming into children's hospitals and cancer wards, which is a real thing that happened. Nursing homes. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Fucking a missile slamming into a nursing home. What is the actual outcome difference?
Oh, there isn't one. No. So, okay, if that's actually the position that was raised, then I would like to correct. I think that's fucking evil. Like that it's like, oh yeah, we should just not fund anyone because this like weird brain-rotted anti-war stance. And now whether or not she erased this because she no longer advocates for it or is trying to pander so that she can get the Mom Donnie endorsement, I view that as a good thing insofar as all of these people that have now been elected, whether Maylot or Darya, their worst position is no position. Their worst position is not, I'm coming out and saying, now Ukraine should still do this. They're not coming out and saying, I want prison abolition as part of their platform. And when I see these people being promoted by like Progressive Victory or anyone else that like, I have the era of, you have the era of Dylan, and I remember specifically being at that Troika rally, I think it was Claire Valdez, gave a really bad answer on Ukraine. Like she would not answer whether or not they should be defended. She did not answer, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were there and I remember you messaging me. And the idea that these people are winning on good populist positions.
Again, all these people are really would really be really mad about it. Hold on, I need to lock in. You're saying they would be mad about a lefty saying the same thing about Palestine, which like I agree. I think fuck.
And also, they have bad ones, evil ones even, I'll agree with, that you can come in and have influence to, at best, or at worst, like get them to just erase and say, I don't have a business on this, and at best, actually push them to being pro-Ukraine. This is what doesn't scare me about this, because these people have their ears open to influential people like you, like Track Ukraine, and can be pushed to have a more sympathetic view, and I don't think this is like making Ukraine aid at risk.
It depends on the person, and I disagree about putting Ukraine aid at risk, because in some campaigns, right, we've engaged with, and they've been very, like, Julie Gonzalez's campaign, her answer on Live and Learn, I couldn't be happier with it, right? She was able to thread the needle in a way that a lot of other political actors were not able to, and it showed a certain amount of political intelligence, and the fact that she was willing to take in, find out something was moral, and stand for it for the basis of it being moral. And she seemed excited to engage with, like, her gradings after we put them out, and that's fantastic, that she was really just filling in a blind spot for what people didn't know about her campaign, right? When it comes to people like Malat, it seems like she has no interest in making that part of her campaign messaging, because they don't know how to form in pro-aid to this country, but against aid to this country. For some reason, that's difficult. We still gave the ranking because we found out about what her position was, actually, even if it wasn't talked about in public. But when you talk about Darya, and when you talk about Claire Valdez, Darya cut off contact over an endorsed organization willing to they got 110,000 phone banks from Malat and Julie Gonzalez. That's a lot of phone banks, and you were part of that initiative, right?
20. I did 20 calls, Dylan. 20 out of 100,000.
That's more effort. That's more work than most streamers will do. Still, but when we talk about that, cutting off, they were in contact, then she cuts contact once they ask, could you please clarify your position on Ukraine? Completely ghost them, even though they're like, we want to give you phone bankers. We want to give you resources.
Oh my God, I'm buns.
Give you things. Please just clarify your position. Complete cold turkey, no information whatsoever. And when she's asked directly by the New York Times editorial board, after Track Ukraine and others who saw that, brought attention to the fact she didn't have a position and she was asked directly, she continued to avoid it. So when we say, oh, in the long run, maybe we'll change their mind. Maybe, but there seems to be such a dedication to avoidance to the point of even self-sabotage that makes me somewhat question. And this is the primary process. This is where you're supposed to ask these questions, answer these questions, deal with scrutiny, and give like dialogue. But what do we see from Darya defenders? Oh, you're trying to rat fuck her at the last second by asking these questions, and you're not how we're we shouldn't be. It seems like everyone's scared to talk about it, and I have to think that comes from somewhere. That doesn't come from nowhere.
So to be clear,
go ahead.
Yeah,
real quick. Sorry. Yeah. I agree with both of you. I think the one thing, so my concern is over the last 4 years since 2022, we have these new DSA folks coming.
Was it hypocrisy? I am gonna mispronounce your name. DAZ. That's it. That's ridiculous. It's a Russian ship. I was locked in a Lucioball. I don't remember the point he raised exactly about hypocrisy.
Cory Bush or Jamal Bowman, when they did have a majority, because Dems haven't had a majority, so they can dissent on certain things. They have to.
Oh wait, are you responding to Charsky?
When they do have a majority, you're going to need all
in chat
on deck. And during Biden's administration, you had people like Cory Bush and Jamal Bowman vote against the infrastructure bill because it didn't go far enough to bring benefits to folks. And I understand their points. Like obviously, Democrats would love to get that done, but with such a slim majority, you have to work with the other side. So my concern is not so much that they aren't voting at all. It's like when we do, or when Democrats do eventually get the House back, which the projections show they would, are they going to stand firm enough together to get certain things passed?
Yes, I mean, there might be a somewhat of a symmetry breaker here in that, like, the alternative would be like a Republican and not like a Democratic alternative. Please beliefs or whatever. But like, if there was a, like lefty making analogous statements about what Dylan Merson's saying with regards to Palestine, like I'm not going to vote for whoever, like these people shouldn't, be in the party if they don't have a sufficiently good enough view on Gaza, if they support the genocide, if they're evil. Yo, thanks for the sub, Agent Orange. Like, that would be like most Democrats, soy pill even would be critical of that, obviously. Now there might be a bit of a breaker there in that, like we'd be upset about it. Fuck. In the context of someone saying they're not going to vote for in a general election as opposed to being in a primary, but you could still make it analogous with, you still could make it analogous if there was a primary where candidates had different beliefs on that.
In the House, or are they going to vote?
Is Dylan Thomas for you? Oh, well, thank you, Dylan Thomas, for being a sub on Kick as well. Let's go.
But against it if it doesn't go far enough with their progressive values. So I think that's one concern. And then the second piece to
can I touch on that real quick, so I don't forget, which is like that was something I had brought up, and I agree this is bad, especially if I was worried. We asked Julie Gonzalez, like, hey, like you think public option doesn't go far enough, that Medicare for all is the necessity, but what if you could only get the public option? And if she was going to signal that she would be more like a Jamal Bowman or Cori Bush, it's like, okay, like there's a reason it's good those people got voted out in primary, because they're clearly not willing to work to make baby steps when it matters. So I do agree with.
Why aren't you green? Your messages should be green. There should be a translucent green background in your Kick messages, but only the actual sub message had the opaque green message.
There, but go ahead.
Yeah, and they did get voted out.
It might just take a second to update.
District shifted a little.
Or might be messed up.
Opponents say that AIPAC was funding her opponent. Now she could win her seat back. We'll see what happens there. So that's kind of up in the air. And the second point I wanted to get to was kind of the ideological capture of what Israel-Palestine has done.
Yeah, I'll kick. Yeah, I know, for real.
Other things lost in the weeds, like Dylan mentioned with Ukraine. It just seems like there's a lot of hypocritical stances they've taken that don't add up to me, and that also don't make the party look necessarily great when you have some of their representatives saying certain things. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there was this video on Twitter. This girl was saying she didn't care about the allegations against Graham Plattner because she views rape not as bad as what's going on in Palestine. And so I think when you start to get
hey,
I don't know. I don't think it was her. Somebody else a little even more left of her. But I'm like, these are people.
I believe Emma Bigland did say that as well, though.
Did she?
I'll say it right now too, just in case you want to fight against that position.
No, but I'm worried if those positions are becoming somewhat popular on that side, you're really going to struggle to kind of connect with the median voter. And a lot of the people who are winning in these races, if you look at the Cook PVI, which is basically how far left or right
to
the median voter in this country they are, AOC's district is like plus 19 Dem, Daria Lee's is like plus 23. So the concern is you're winning in these far left districts that aren't really representing the country as a whole. So you can push as far as you want, but on these 80-20 issues, you become so distant from everybody, you start to affect the party as a whole. And so I think that's a concern too.
Sort of. So real quick, I'll address that. And I wanted to go with what Dylan said too. Like on certain things, like prison abolition or any of these like crazy Daria Lisa things, and you look like the instant she wins, Fox News is like, bam, socialist, crazy, look at all the crazy things she said. One, I'm not worried about that as much because that's already what they say about even Obama, right? Like, so they're able to take those things, and if they're saying them vocally or had said them in the past, it's much easier. But if their current positions don't reflect that amount of radicalism, like an AOC, who used to be way more radical, I just don't think it matters nearly so much in terms of whether or not you're going to get alienated. The Republican war machine is very good at doing that anyway. What I am more worried about, and this is to Dylan's point, is what are their current positions? So I don't want to downplay Daria Lisa's like, basically kind of pro-Russia rhetoric, where she's saying like, oh, the West bullies Russia, right? This is a deleted tweet. What I want to
District is firmly blue. There are almost 200k Democrats and 30k Republicans. We could run on Dem with an independent who isn't psychotic, sorry, and thinks interracial marriage is bad and still win. Also primary turnout. Sure. Yeah.
Focus on is what is she saying right now, and what is she like advocating for in Congress? If she is secretly or not so secretly, based on her past, more amicable to Russian imperialism, the same way like Hassan is, that's bad, right? That could absolutely.
Destiny, the moderate Democrat, said he would. I mean, I think he's like, he might be fair to consider a moderate Democrat. Anti-DSA, anti-Hassan and stuff, but like he's more, I don't know, he's more progressive than me and stuff still. Said he would vote for all DSA candidates over Marco Rubio or something. Isn't that a problem with the DSA? It isn't a problem with the DSA. Okay, I don't know exactly what your point is.
That ideology is spread. I don't want that. However, if she's unable to effectively advocate for that in Congress and is so scared and bullied by people like you who are, and I say bullied not in a pejorative, bullied in a good way, telling them, hey, shut the fuck up about like being anti-Ukraine because you're spreading bad ideas, and this is like, okay, I have to stick to domestic things that more people care about that are things we agree on, I think this is okay. I wouldn't say that this is like my litmus test for whether or not I ever be happy whether or not they got elected. Because at the same time, you mentioned Israel-Palestine. Yeah, there's a lot of inconsistencies with like, who do they advocate for? Like, stopping this genocide, stopping this ethnic cleansing. But as soon as it comes to Ukraine, it's like, where the fuck are you, where's this stance? Like, why aren't you pro-Ukrainian? Many of the...
Are you green here? You're not green here. Are you green here?
alternatives here, if we look in these primaries, have dog shit, Israel-Palestine positions. So maybe they're pro-Ukraine, but they're also like, and I wouldn't vote to stop, weapons to hold leverage over them to stop the Gazan genocide. So at the same time, it's like, what's my single issue vote? Nothing, right? I'm looking at all of these things in totality. I can look at like the most radical DSA candidate and say, I don't like a lot of the things that you're advocating for or have said in the past. But if I look at your platform now and I'm comparing this of like how you're pushing the party, I am not even close to upset that you're winning, as long as I know that we have like strong people advocating for the issues that I'm worried about, pushing you away from those, and that there's not going to be some like crazy DSA coalition that forms and is able to overwhelm the vote. And yes, if they are able to stop progress by being like the 1 or 2 Dem nays, or 9 now, I forgot how many DSA candidates they are, then that is a serious worry. I don't think that's unfounded, and we should then immediately primary them. If it's like, okay, you're not even going to let us pass
that could
like
kill
bipartisan stuff. Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Well, I mean, with what you just said, the recent polling from CNN said that the majority of Democrats are now in favor of socialism. It's about 66 to 44% now.
Oh boy.
Do you not think that, like, if this is the popular Democrat Party, Socialist Party, if the DSA is the popular Socialist Party and their positions are what is...
Well, I'm purple. How it feels to win. I don't know if they're your style of socialist. They're probably the lame style of socialist. I'm not red, but I don't think I'm ever red. I should be green though. I'm not green. Fuck. I don't know. Might just be kick fucked up. Whatever. Doesn't matter that much. Unfortunately, yeah. Democrats have no model for why leftist views are bad. Okay, there's no reason to dispute Medicare for all besides, what if Trump controls Medicare for all? I just don't think that's true. I think that there are, like, plenty of even fairly progressive Democrats who that's just not their position. Like, you can see Buttigieg just talking about why he doesn't support Medicare for all back in, like, 2020, and it's not that reason. You can see Yesterday talk about it, and it's not that reason. Like, he doesn't control a bunch of government healthcare already, or we can't pay for it. Like, Democrats haven't been significantly willing to raise taxes significantly for the social programs before. Nothing about the substance of the policy. I mean, I think the why we pay for it. I think that's a fair thing to consider when you're considering the substance of the policy. Like, Kick doesn't have tiered subscriptions. I don't think it does, but it should be. It should be green. I don't know why you're not green. It should be green regardless. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. I don't think anyone. Does anyone care about their translucent background and messages? Are you guys really subbing to me for your translucent background? You should only sub to me. I'm the only one that gives you the real benefits, okay? The real fucking benefits. I'm pretty sure it was Claude that wrote the CSS code for the chat stuff, so maybe it's just updated or changed or broken in some way. I don't know. Okay. Fuck me. Yeah, right. Okay. I'm going to do a bit of schoolwork, and then I'm going to read, hopefully. Yeah. Probably. That's what I want to do. Okay. So, as some of you all know, okay, horrible news, if you don't know. They got me where employment, horrible. Okay, so I start work, but like training, but still, work tomorrow. So I don't know. I don't think, especially when as I'm just doing the training stuff for the next like 2 weeks, basically, it shouldn't affect my streaming that much. That being said, I won't stream tomorrow. I know. But have the debate with Caden, the Ancom Ultra Runner, whatever, wage slave. I will be. We'll see. I've been told by people on the right say that as soon as I get my first paycheck, I'm going to be anti-tax and maybe anti-immigration as well. I think I don't know if any of them have said it's just working at all, but some of them have said like working in construction or whatever. And then people on the left have told me as soon as I work, I'm going to be pro-union and pro-taxing the billionaires and stuff. So, you know, we'll see how much my beliefs update. Okay, based on the first paycheck. You know, we'll see. I should have already gotten mine from the one singular shift at Dollar General I did. But they haven't paid me. I need to fucking text them to fucking pay me. They might not be enough to pay me. I don't know if they have a minimum of like in order for you to get paid. Because I only did one shift there. And Sheets is better, so you know. But yeah. So that'll be, I think, also on next Wednesday? Question mark. Yeah, on Wednesday the 22nd, I'm on some panel that I don't know the topic of, but it's at a re-examination invited me a while ago. He just said, I can't say the topic, but it's big. You're going to want to be there. And I said, okay. So those are the two things I have planned as of now, but I'll be, I won't stream tomorrow, but hopefully the day after and stuff, I still will and stuff. So, you know. But yeah, live streaming. Love to guys watch you stream. At the start of my current job, I've realized that a large defense companies are both really smart and really stupid. Good to know. But yeah, y'all can head over to we'll raid Ludwig. Head over to Ludwig, guys. Make sure to tell Ludwig I say hi. But yeah, I'll see y'all hopefully the day after tomorrow. Don't know for sure because I will again be working, but I should be home at a reasonable time and stuff still to stream if I'm not exhausted from being a wage slave. But yeah, okay. So I'll see you guys then. Like, subscribe, share, join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all that jazz. And love you guys. See y'all later.